Turn it on and rip the knob off.
The time is here, guys. It's finally arrived. It's episode number 49 of the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'm your host, Ray Russell, and today it's time for the WWF SummerSlam 93 Watch-Along. But before that, let's talk about social media and the free prize giveaways. Let's talk about how you guys can win your chance at some free prize giveaways. We give them away all the time. In fact, we're giving away 2 free prize giveaways right here on this episode of The Grenade. You may be asking, how can you be part of these free prize giveaway offers? Well, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. It's home with the free prize giveaway. Also, follow and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. All you got to do is follow us on either Twitter or Facebook or both, and you're automatically entered into each and every free prize giveaway that we do. And this week, we're giving away not one, but we're giving away 2 free prizes this week. One, a autographed 8x10 made in the USA Lex Luger promo pic. The other gift, 3 WWF magazines from 1993. It's the August, October, and November edition. I'll be sending those out as well. We'll announce the winners before we get going with the watch along. But before we get to that, I also want to talk about youtube.com/Wrestling Grenade. It's our YouTube channel, guys. Well over 50 new videos up in the last couple of weeks. Lots of WWF versus USWA feud videos going up right now, and more WWF 93 videos going up, possibly as you're listening to this right now. Lots of good things going on. I got to get all of the WWF up from 93 before we move on to our next project. So keep checking back to youtube.com/Wrestling Grenade and subscribe so you never miss a beat, so you pick up all the new videos we add each and every week there on YouTube. And for those new to The Grenade, anybody looking to listen to past episodes of The Grenade, well, you can find all of our shows, including our sister shows, Monday Warfare, The Battles Within, TR Shocks the World with Tom Robinson, and so much more over at WrestleCopia.com. That's the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, the website. You can also listen to all of our previous shows and all of our future shows on your favorite podcast streaming apps. That includes Apple, Spotify, Google Pod, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Audible on Amazon, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Castro, Radio Public, Podcast Addict, Breaker, Himalaya, and those in the States. You guys can even listen to us now on the Facebook app as part of our RSS feed there. We're everywhere, guys, and our past shows will be coming to our YouTube channel very soon. And last but not least, please go over to patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We have 14 tiers of goodies over there for you guys to sort through, as low as a $1 tier, and all that does is let us know you're there. It lets us know that you care, and in return, hey, I'll give you guys a shout-out right here on the show for sending a simple $1 in your support to The Grenade, to the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But my favorite, the $5 all-access tier, that's where it's at, guys. You get early access to many of our upcoming shows, plus all of my show notes for both the Wrestling Memory Grenade as well as the Monday Warfare show. Worth the price alone, I promise you. But that's not all. It's our all-access watch-along series. It's the Patreon-exclusive watch-along series. Tons of watch-alongs we do there that you won't find anywhere else. We cover tons of Coliseum home videos, WWF and WCW pay-per-views, Saturday night's main events on patreon.com/WrestleCopia. There's no commitment. You can cancel anytime. I'm just asking you guys to give it a try. Subscribe for 1 month. And again, you can cancel anytime, but I don't think you will once you get into our Patreon and see what I have to offer there for you. But it's that time, guys. No, it's not quite the SummerSlam watch-along yet. We got one more piece of business to get out of the way before we get to the watch-along, and that is the Virgil of the Week. If you go back 2 episodes ago to episode number 47 of The Grenade, we played 3 Virgil promos, all hyping up his match against Nails at SummerSlam 92. Well, this is the real deal. Because we're doing the SummerSlam 93 watch-along today, I decided to play the Virgil promo from SummerSlam 92. 1 year ago, Virgil on the pay-per-view, and he was taking on a newcomer at that time, by the name of Nails. Virgil perhaps looking for a little revenge for his good friend, the Big Boss Man here. Let's listen to what Virgil had to tell the prisoner going into their match.
Joining me now is Virgil, who is getting set to step into the ring with unquestionably the cruelest man we have ever seen in the WWF, the ex-convict Nails.
Nails, I seen what you did to my friend, the Big Boss Man. You handcuffed him behind his back, and you beat him like a dog, man. Well, I survived all the toughest streets around the world, man. And the biggest street I'm going to survive is right out here at Wembley Stadium, because you got to want it, man. And Nails, my saying is, do unto you before you ever can do unto me, because I'm like all the good people here in London and all the good people around the world, man. I am definitely too legit to quit. Let the games begin.
No doubt if Virgil has his way, crime will not pay in this encounter. Virgil is set for action.
Virgil has an interesting take on the golden rule of doing to others there. He's too legit to quit. His old Virg as he heads out to take on Nails there. Spoiler, guys, Nails murders Virgil in a very quick squash match as part of that SummerSlam pay-per-view. That would also wind up being how Nails got fired when he attacked Vince McMahon. Story goes that he was strangling Vince over his SummerSlam payoff against Virgil there. Unbelievable. But that was last year, and this is this year, SummerSlam 1993. And let's hope that there's no matches quite like Nails versus Virgil on this card, shall we? Okay, guys, before we get to the watch-along, it's that time. Let's announce our winners of the 2 free prize giveaways this week. And as part of the SummerSlam Watch-Along episode, we promised to give away these 2 free prizes, the Lex Luger autographed 8x10, as well as the 3 WWF magazines from 1993. Without further delay, let's get going with the winners. All right, first up, congratulations to Carlos Padilla of Florida. He's our Twitter follower, Carlos Padilla. Congratulations. You have won the autographed 8x10, the promo picture of Made in the USA, Lex Luger. Keep following us on Twitter for your chance to win future free prize giveaways, Carlos and everyone else. Also, a big congratulations to Facebook follower James Haste of Michigan. And wow, how fitting. We're going to Michigan here with SummerSlam 93. James Haste of Michigan wins the package of 3 WWF magazines from 1993. That's October, November, and, well, yeah, August as well. How fitting. James Haste from Michigan wins one of the packages. He follows us on Facebook, and all you guys have to do is follow us and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for your chance to win each and every future free prize giveaway. All right, guys, with that out of the way, it's time to get ready for the watch-along. It's Lex Luger and Yokozuna in the main event for the WWF title. The Steiners defend the tag team titles against newcomers, the Heavenly Bodies, with Jim Cornette in their corner. Well, Jim Cornette in Yoko's corner as well. Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels defends against former 2-time champion Mr. Perfect. Bret the Hitman Hart looks to exact revenge for his family against the evil Jerry the King Lawler. The Undertaker meets the Giant Gonzalez in a Rest in Peace match. Plus 6-man tag team action with the Gunns and Tatanka against Bam Bam Bigelow and the Headshrinkers. Ludvig Borga makes his pay-per-view debut against Marty Jannetty. Newly turned babyface Razor Ramon takes on the $1 Million Man Ted Dibiase. This will be Ted Dibiase's swan song in the ring as far as the WWF is concerned. IRS also takes on the 1-2-3 Kid, plus the debut of Joe Fowler. Special appearance by Doink the Clown. So much more coming up in this edition of SummerSlam, and we'll be right back with the watch-along. So for everybody in the States, cue up the Peacock right now. Everybody else internationally, cue up the WWE Network. Get ready for the SummerSlam watch-along on the other side of this. It may not be the showdown at the OK Corral, but it was the WWF versus WCW, Raw versus Nitro, the Monday Night War, the Ratings War, the NWO, the Attitude Era. While everyone discusses who won the war, it's truly the battles within the war that made this weekly episodic rivalry so exciting. We break it all down, from episode reviews to backstage news to those ever-important TV ratings. It's Monday Warfare, the battles within, exclusively is part of the WrestleCopia brand, available on WrestleCopia.com and all of your favorite podcast streaming apps. On behalf of the Wrestling Memory Grenade and the WrestleCopia brand, we are proud to announce our very own Patreon account. We encourage everyone to stop on over to patreon.com/WrestleCopia and check out an amazing 14 tiers. And depending on your budget, we have everything from as little as a $1 tier to as much as a $100 tier. Get you all sorts of exciting offers. It really all depends on what offer you value the most. You can do anything from join Steve and I right here as co-hosts for an episode of The Grenade, all the way down to unedited versions of the show, early access to upcoming episodes, beat everyone else to the punch, see what we're saying before everyone else gets to hear it, plus my insanely detailed show notes, which I value ever so dearly. You can even pick the flick. And what that means is, if you subscribe to one of our You Pick the Flick tiers, you'll tell us, me and Steve, what show it is you want us to review. It can be a watch-along on the WWE Network, YouTube, Daily Motion. It could even be a live review of a rare show from my personal archive vault of videos at home. No promotion, no territory, no era is off limits. You can request anything from your favorite WrestleMania to an episode of 1982 World Class to the 60-minute classic between Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk Jr. from 1970's All Japan. Hell, if you want to put us through the misery, we'll even pull a Mystery Science Theater over here and watch Hell Comes to Frogtown starring Roddy Piper. You tell us what you want us to review, and we'll do our own little watch-along and do our best to entertain you guys and give you guys insight in the process. And it doesn't end there. There's a $5 tier, the all-access tier. Not only do you gain access to everything on every lower tier, but you'll also have complete access to our entire full library of random show reviews and watch-alongs we've done and continue to do as a side project. We review everything from the Flair Steamboat 2 out of 3 fall match from Class 6, all the way down to the Halloween 1985 edition of Saturday Night's Main Event. It's a proverbial hodgepodge of randomness, as you never know what we'll review next. And it's exclusive to the all-access tier or any of the higher tiers over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Check it out now. That address again is patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That's Wrestle, C-O-P-I-A. All right, guys, and I'm all queued up, so I hope you guys are queued up too. If not, our international users, please go over to the WWE Network and queue up SummerSlam 1993 as I get ready to count you down. For those here in the States with the Peacock, it's a little more tricky. You're going to have to go to SummerSlam Season 6, Episode 1. Ugh, I can't tell you how much that aggravates me. It's SummerSlam 1993 either way, and for those of you not paying for the ad-free Peacock, that's the $4.99 people out there. If you guys have ads during your pay-per-views, you're going to have to pause our show during those commercial breaks and pick us up on the other side if you want to watch along with us, but that's not a necessity. You guys can just listen to the show without watching along or watch along later. All right, guys, here we go. It's the SummerSlam 93 watch-along in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press play.
The Lex Express has been crisscrossing this great land of ours, with Lex Luger meeting hundreds of thousands of Americans. His red, white, and blue call-to-action campaign has finally reached its destination, the Palace of Auburn Hills in suburban Detroit, Michigan. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the setting for the 1993 edition of SummerSlam. Mr. Heenan, Lex Luger is hopeful of becoming the WWF champion. He gets his shot at Yokozuna. Just one of 3 title matches here tonight. You got that wrong again, McMahon. There are 4 very prestigious, 4 titles on the line. What about the King of the Ring, which is owned by Jerry the King Lawler? And he's going to show the world what that imposter, Bret the Hitman Hart, is all about.
Unquestionably a great matchup. We'll find just who is the undisputed king of the WWF. What's this?
That means my money-grabbing hands are ready for money. I'm so envious of Jim Cornette. You know, money comes to money. Mr. Fuji made him a wealthy man. Now, he is going to manage the tag champion and Yokozuna. Big money, big money.
And speaking of money, look who's coming to town.
And speaking of money, here he is, the $1 Million Man.
And this will be Ted DiBiase's final wrestling match here in the WWF, believe it or not, guys. SummerSlam 93, right now, Monday night it aired back on August 30th, 1993's Auburn Hills, Michigan, at the Palace in Auburn Hills. WWF reports 23,954 fans. DeMelt says closer to 19,000, but hey, who's counting? About 20,000 people here in the arena for this big pay-per-view event, the big SummerSlam. Summer Spectacular, as it takes place near the end of August. The closest to the end of August I can remember it, certainly up until this point. Vince and Bobby on the call here. Did you hear Vince? He didn't even know I'm Vince. It was really awkward the way he introduced himself. Had to be kicking himself in the ass. Now, we know Jim Ross made his debut at WrestleMania 9. He also called King of the Ring. JR's not doing it here tonight. Vince McMahon taking over duties. JR is actually up in the booth for the brand new debuting Radio WWF. The very first episode debuted just 2 days prior to this, Saturday night, August 28th, on the air Radio WWF. Jim Ross up in the booth doing the radio call with Gorilla Monsoon. So we have two former pay-per-view hosts in Gorilla and Jim Ross now calling the action on Radio WWF. I'd love to get my hands on some of those audios from the old Radio WWF pay-per-views. Nevertheless, though, it is Vince and Bobby here. Very entertaining commentary throughout the course of the night, as you could probably imagine. Razor Ramon, the bad guy, rocking pink here. I always loved how every pay-per-view, I don't know if you guys noticed this, every pay-per-view, certainly from his babyface time forward, Razor would wear a new vest, a new trunk to the ring, a new color. And here we are rocking the hot pink. I don't know if Bret took offense to this. Maybe not exactly Bret's shade, but Razor Ramon in the ring, getting ready to take on Ted DiBiase. Let's talk a little bit about how this whole thing started. It actually started with the Razor Ramon 1-2-3 kick as DiBiase attacks the bad guy. It's all started with Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 kid. Of course, the Kid at the time defeating Razor Ramon, and then again in the rematch, stealing or taking, I guess it was rightfully his, taking the $10,000 and running with it, did the Kid, which led to Ted DiBiase and his partner at the time, Money Incorporated IRS, mocking the bad guy for losing all of his money, for losing to a punk jabroni, if you will. And Razor being offered a job by Ted DiBiase is basically his houseboy, doing whatever jobs around the house might need to be done, including scrubbing the toilets. The bad guy took exception, and he came out a few weeks later and declined the offer by nailing DiBiase and IRS. And then, of course, DiBiase wanted to prove that the Kid beating Razor Ramon was simply a fluke, that Razor simply didn't have the intestinal fortitude. So DiBiase planned to go get the job done himself, wrestled the Kid on an episode of Wrestling Challenge, but he let his guard down when Razor Ramon came to ringside. DiBiase distracted by the bad guy and showing up the bad guy, leading to the Kid crucifixing the $1 Million Man and pinning him. So the Kid now with two giant wins, one over Razor and one over the $1 Million Man. And that leads us to this match here tonight. Razor Ramon taking on the $1 Million Man in singles competition. DiBiase's been part of Money Inc. for quite a while now. But here tonight, he's going back into singles, which is kind of odd. DeMeltzer speculated, and rightfully so, I would have guessed the same thing, that this was initially going to be a tag team match between the Money Incorporated versus Razor Ramon and the Kid. It would have made sense, especially with DiBiase's bad back, and then the Kid still being fairly green to the WWF scene. But things are split up here, and it's DiBiase doing bumps here for the bad guy. Oh, here comes the old classic Ted DiBiase backflip over the top rope, out to the floor. And the bad guy getting this crowd going here in Auburn Hills. Believe that. And of course, the famous line from Razor Ramon on Raw heading into this one when he finds out he's not wrestling the Kid again. He's wrestling the $1 Million Man. He says, good. He didn't want to fight a Kid. He wanted to fight a Mang. A $1 Million Mang. Gotta love the bad guy. As Razor brings DiBiase in the hard way. According to the Melts, Ted DiBiase, in his book, or possibly in a shoot interview, I'm not sure where the notation came from, but DeMeltz claims that Ted said that he put in his notice not because of his back injury. Remember, he had the herniated disc and some back injuries that'll come into play and see DiBiase retire here at the end of 93. But it wasn't the back issues that caused DiBiase to leave the WWF. It was because his wife had finally had enough. She confronted DiBiase about his womanizing, the carousing of women, if you will, and his drug use, which DiBiase has admitted to tenfold. DiBiase basically claims he put in his notice for that reason, and he left the WWF to try and make his family work. And he eventually, after the World Wrestling Federation, he'll go back to All Japan and work for Giant Baba. A promise DiBiase had stated that he told Baba back in the 80s. Baba said, before you retire, please come here and finish your career in All Japan. I don't know necessarily to have his final match in All Japan, but he wanted DiBiase to do another tour before retiring. And DiBiase agreed to that deal with Baba way back, handshake deal back in the 80s, and he didn't forget. And DiBiase figured going to All Japan, a lot less temptation there and a lot less pressure. I don't know about wrestling-wise, but certainly outside of the ring, a lot less pressure on DiBiase to work the All Japan promotion, which he does here in the fall and the early winter before officially retiring. And he'll be back here in the WWF by Royal Rumble 94, first as an announcer, and then we know later on as a manager, as DiBiase works over Razor here. The match starts off hot, no doubt about it, but as things continue on, it's pretty basic paint-by-numbers stuff from both guys. DiBiase looking a little slower than he used to be, and I'm not taking anything away from him. He's certainly very capable still, and still 10 times more entertaining than the Erwin R. Shyster gimmick. But as we see him lock in a chin lock here, he's paying homage right there to IRS with that chin lock, no doubt. The bad guy looking for the ropes, and he's nowhere near, right in the middle of the ring. The chin lock applied in the opener. And let's take a look at some of the other things here. Some of the taglines leading into SummerSlam. The WrestleMania has had Stars and Stripes forever at WrestleMania 7. The Ultimate Challenge at WrestleMania 6. Mega Powers exploded at WrestleMania 5. Well, here in SummerSlam 93, the taglines, which weren't really used on TV, but rather for promotional use, were "Somebody has to stop him." What a great slogan. SummerSlam 93. Somebody has to stop him. So I guess why not Lex Luger? Him being Yokozuna. Pronouns, pal, right? And the other tagline, SummerSlam. Fat Chance. Come on, WWF. Don't be a bully. Be a star. Fat Chance with a picture of Yokozuna on the cover. Fat Chance for Lex Luger, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe apropos. As Razor tries to escape this chinlock, there was also a dark match earlier here tonight on the show. I'm sure you guys know by now a dark match is the warm-up match, not just for the crowd, but so they can get the cameras in order, the lighting in order, make sure everything's working properly. And tonight it was the Rocket Owen Hart over Barry Horowitz. Always a fun match. Match went 8.5 minutes. But DeMeltz notes, at least reported to him, that Owen was noticeably limping and the match was mainly stalling by Barry Horowitz. So maybe not as exciting as we thought. And we'll see Owen later selling his leg at ringside, just a little bit, the ankle. As DiBiase still on top of Razor Ramon. We'll talk a little bit about the buy rates too, guys. I think we'll wait and do that after the match. So I'm not sure how far into the match we are, but we got lots of pay-per-view to go. So we'll save some of the facts and some of the notes here as the show goes on, because there will be dead spots, no doubt about it. I know they're coming. As Razor continues to try to battle back on the $1 Million Man here in this match. I have great memories, by the way, guys, of this pay-per-view. Obviously not maybe by most of the wrestling. There were some solid matches on this show, don't get me wrong, as these guys collide in the ring. But the reason I really fondly remember this particular pay-per-view was, I think it was the first night I ever got all three family members that were giant wrestling fans, such as myself, all in the room at the same time with me to watch a pay-per-view, all combined together. I've talked about two different cousins I had who were giant wrestling fans, and my brother. And my brother, this was, I believe, the first time I ever sat down in a room at the same time and watched a live pay-per-view with my brother coming over to visit. So this was a pretty big deal to me back then, and it's finally remembered because of that now. And not only were all three of my two cousins and my brother all wrestling fans, but they all happen to be born in the same exact year. Wow, busy year there. Oh, DiBiase exposes the turnbuckle, but he eats it himself. And the bad guy looking to capitalize, looking for the Razor's Edge. Wow, no big comeback here, just straight into the Razor's Edge. Is that what we're going to do here? It looks like it's meant to be. And down goes Ted DiBiase. Razor Ramon going to make the cover. Hooks the leg. 3, And we have a winner, Razor Ramon, pinning the $1 Million Man in his final match here in the WWF match went 7 minutes, 33 seconds. And the bad guy exacts some revenge on the big money man, Moneybags, now out of the company. This will be the final night of Ted DiBiase in ring here in the WWF as we say goodbye. Razor leaves the ring in a pretty fast pace. Not really a big celebration there. As the show will continue on, we're going to hear from Todd Pettengill at ringside. He's going to be actually talking to the Steiner brothers' mother and their sister. We'll go to Todd here in just a second. I guess we'll pick up the live feed right now.
The Steiner family, I believe. Todd, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed, Vince McMahon. I am standing by with Mother Steiner and Crystal, or is it? I can't even tell. You both look so great. Now, Papa Steiner is missing in action today. Where is he?
Papa's home on the couch. He's not feeling well.
He's not feeling well.
No.
Well, we wish him best. We hope he gets better soon. Now, I just want to ask you real quickly, the mother of the Steiner brothers, it had to be an incredible childhood. Were you always telling him, no Frankensteiners by my good lamps?
Right. Whatever you say, sounds good.
Right, and you, the poor sister of the Steiner brothers, can you imagine?
Terrible.
There had to be no man you could bring home that would pass that inspection.
That's it. They'd walk in the house, they'd see Robin Scott go, I'm out of here.
Our sister needs to stay home and study. More studying
Wake up,
for the
Michigan, because your favorite sons are about to go down.
Wait just a second.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present the tag team that's better late at night than David Letterman. Dr. Tom Pritchard, Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey, they are the Heavenly Bodies. And here they come, the challengers for the tag team title. Doctor of Desire, Tom Pritchard, and what was Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. Yeah. Can they beat the Steiner brothers? And there you see.
Woo, dig that recycled music. If that sounds familiar, that's the New Foundation music of Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart back in the New Foundation short, brief time at the end of 91, early 92. But here it is, Dr. Tom Pritchard and Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey. Who is that guy? For those who don't know, the original Heavenly Bodies were actually Tom Pritchard and the former member of the Midnight Express and the former member of the Fabulous Ones, Sweet Stan Lane, who was just, God, you have to look at that track record. The Fabs, talk about making some money there down in Memphis. And then he moves on to Lux into the Midnight Express spot, which story goes according to Cornette. Tom Pritchard was actually the original idea for a replacement of Dennis Condrey when he left the Midnight Express. It would have been Tom Pritchard and beautiful Bobby Eaton, but no, I can't remember how the exact story goes. Maybe he wasn't able to get a hold of Pritchard or the situation wasn't right as far as timing goes. But the second pick was Stan Lane. It worked out great, the Midnight Express, and then Stan Lane winds up forming the Heavenly Bodies with Tom Pritchard down in Smoky Mountain Wrestling all over the After Mags forever. I was emphatically excited for the Smoky Mountain Wrestling territory, even though I didn't get to watch it locally until 1994. And then, boom, out of nowhere, Jim Cornette and Lane and Pritchard pop up in WCW back in, with Bill Watts still under the guise of the boss in WCW. They worked out a deal with Smoky Mountain. Jim Cornette comes in to manage the Heavenly Bodies, which were Lane and Pritchard up in WCW earlier here in 93. It's funny to see. And now just a few months later, they've worked out a deal with the WWF, and it's Jim Cornette and Pritchard back, but this time with a new partner in Jimmy Del Rey. Story goes, Stan Lane just had enough of coming over from North Carolina over to Tennessee to work the shows and then driving back to North Carolina, and they just couldn't get it right as far as the deal goes. And Stanley said, you know what, I think I'm done. And then, like, boom, just a few months later, they signed to the WWF. So bad timing for Stan Lane to opt out of the Heavenly Bodies tag team. But it works out here for Jimmy Del Rey, longtime enhancement talent down in Florida as Jimmy Backlund. And he was a lot thinner and trimmer back in those days. Not that he's Bastion Booger or anything here. Great spider. Boom! Jimmy Del Rey shot into the face of Tom Pritchard. As this match. This is probably my favorite match on the entire show, so soak it in, guys, if you're watching along. It's nonstop action, no real downtime, no rest holds. It's just constant movement by both teams. You'd expect nothing else from a Jim Cornette match or a Steiner Brothers match for that matter, so everything works out perfect here. Great opponents for the Steiners, though the Bodies have only been here in the company for really less than a month. They had to come into the scene. It was originally scheduled to be the Headshrinkers reportedly here tonight, just like WrestleMania 9 all over again, challenging the Steiners for the title. Look at Jim Cornette having a conniption fit, as they used to call it out there, and hopefully he doesn't have a stroke. Jimmy's turning bright red out there. You guys might be wondering about that neck brace as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. But like I was saying, the Heavenly Bodies had less than a month to get over here. They were really pushing them hard on TV as Jim Cornette surprisingly just debuts out of nowhere on an episode of Monday Night Raw, and a week later, not only is he managing the Heavenly Bodies, but he's also now spokesman for the WWF champion Yokozuna. So Jim Cornette making big waves very fast here, as the Steiners had what they called an open contract. It was never announced on TV, but it was played up on TV like the Headshrinkers were the number one contenders, but Fatu had actually suffered a injury to his knee, I believe an infection to his leg, and they were concerned at one point if he'd even be able to work for the next several months, so they scrapped that, and they went with the Heavenly Bodies. Now, luckily, Fatu's situation healed up pretty fast, and he was back in the ring, and we'll see him here before the show is over tonight. Jim Cornette does not like the fans here, clearly chanting behind the Steiner brothers, who are the hometown favorites. Michigan, I should add. Tommy Pritchard grabbing that headlock. I was so excited, though, to see the Heavenly Bodies here, though, when they debuted on TV here in August. I was unaware at this point that Stan Lane had left the team, so I was like, what the hell? Who is this guy? This Jimmy Del Rey. And you got to admit, Stan Lane never won for a great arsenal of offense. Jimmy Del Rey certainly blows Stan Lane out of the water when it comes to wrestling. But at the same time, Stan Lane, what the showman of the team, really made it seem more of a logical team. They seemed to fit better. I never really got into this Heavenly Bodies as much as I did the Lane and Pritchard version. But Jim Cornette out there, and he's trying to regroup his boys. It's been all Steiners so far in this match. And I go back and I think about, again, I was kind of cut short because we went to the finish of that last match, though, of just really enjoying this pay-per-view. At this point, I remember my aunt and uncle coming over during this matchup. I remember my cousins being there, my brother, just really enjoying this entire pay-per-view. Scott Steiner going to shoot Pritchard off here. And I believe that, I can't speak for my brother. I don't know if this is the first live pay-per-view he ever watched, but I know it was our first time together. So it was a pretty big deal there for me. And nice double team. Finally, it looks like the Heavenly Bodies are going to take over. Jimmy Del Rey slides through the legs of Scott Steiner, and as he bends down to grab him, Pritchard from behind with a bulldog. That's Jim Cornette booking. That's Midnight Express booking 101 right there. As Scotty tossed to the floor, maybe Jim Cornette going to take some liberties on him. Referee Danny Davis distracted by Rick coming in. Jimmy Del Rey, the camera kind of misses it there, but Jimmy Del Rey, you don't see that much in the WWF. A running somersault dive, plancha, if you will, off the apron onto Scott Steiner on the floor. Wrestling has certainly evolved here as of late, just as a whole on the independent circuit and beyond. And now these guys are coming in. We see that today again here in the 2020s. Del Rey, a little bit of grind for Rick Steiner. But we were seeing it again here. If you go back and see some of the stuff that Jimmy Del Rey was doing, the 1-2-3 kid, as float over DDT right there for those who think The Rock invented that or Shane McMahon. No, the first guy I ever saw do the float over DDT right there, Jimmy Del Rey. And the team, well, now we're going to get some double team for the Bodies. You would expect nothing less. There is no Jim Cornette tag team that doesn't do a double team well. As the Bodies take over, you see Pritchard rocking that thigh pad or that bandage around his thigh. He had an injury at this point. Cornette said he really shouldn't even have gotten in the ring, but he wasn't going to pass up not just the payday, but just being at SummerSlam, being a part of the WWF, wrestling the Steiners for the titles. So keep that in mind. If you don't think Pritchard is 100% here, again, it goes back to Dibiase. Pritchard, Dibiase, guys not even at 100%, still leaps and bounds better than a lot of other guys when they're at 100%. So it's not 100% unnoticeable, but at the same time, Pritchard does a great job here with the leg injury. And speaking of injuries, we see Jim Cornette on the outside. Jimmy Del Rey, super kick, and another shit camera angle. That's two, and we'll see that repeatedly here tonight. Some of the camera angles, very questionable, missing some good spots. Jimmy Del Rey lays in that super kick there. But back to Cornette with the neck brace. The story there, if you guys are wondering, this was not a WWF-related storyline In fact, 2 weeks earlier, Jim Cornette had gotten beaten up and down in Smoky Mountain by Bullet Bob Armstrong. And Corny told Vince, hey, is this going to be a problem? Because I got to work the gimmick. Wrestling's real, at least down in Knoxville. And I got to work this. I can't not wear. Ooh, nice cheap shot there by Cornette with the racket on Scott Steiner. Ricky going to chase him around ringside. Or as his sister referred to him during that promo earlier, Rob, she let the cat out of the bag. I remember sitting there with my sibling and my cousins, and she goes, Rob and Scott. And we all look at each other like, Rob, does she not know her own brother's name? Oh, then it dawns on us, his real name must be Rob. And that's when we learned that, some Rick Steiner was not his real name. Unbelievable, right? But Corny told Vince, hey, is this going to be a problem with the neck brace, getting back to that? And Vince said, no problem at all, pal. So Vince will up. Del Rey going to try for another float over DDT. Doesn't work this time. Oh, almost a Tazplex there. Scotty launches him in that kind of overhead belly to belly, almost a head and arm suplex. Jimmy Del Rey down on the mat. It might be hot tag time. And this, like I told you guys, nothing but nonstop offense from both teams. Oops. Tom Pritchard cuts it off before he can make that hot tag. We get a far, double underhook powerbomb by Scott Steiner, and now both guys down again. This finally may be the hot tag. If you guys are looking for a timestamp right now, we're at 23, 04, 05, 06. As Rick Steiner gets the hot tag, and it's going to be wild now. Boom! Steiner line takes Del Rey's head off. A more nicer Steiner line there for Tom Pritchard. Look at Rick Steiner just picking these guys up. They're not even really having to get up for him. He's just Scotty with the, Scott, maybe we ought to retire the dropkick out of your repertoire. You do so many awesome, Steiner, Rick on the top rope. Bulldog. Oh my goodness. And I could see how that would injure Buff Bagwell years later. That was a pretty dangerous spot. Rick Steiner with the Bulldog off the top on Del Rey. Scott in the corner with Pritchard. We got a four-way melee going on, which has to make you think we're heading into the finish. Buzz Sawyer power slam by Rick Steiner on Del Rey. But Cornette up on the apron, throws the racket into Pritchard. Boom! Busted across the back of Rick Steiner. Looks like we may have new tag team champions here. Rick Steiner out from the tennis racket. 2. He kicks out. Unbelievable. The local the Michigan fans, the fans of the Steiners from Detroit, Michigan, enjoying that one. Rick Steiner kicking out from the tennis racket shot. You didn't get that all the time. Tom Pritchard going to hold Rick up. Looks like Del Rey going up for the moonsault finisher. Here it comes. Scott pulls Rick out of the way. Del Rey hits his own partner. That might be enough here. As Rick Steiner signaling for the Frankensteiner, Scotty shoots him off. Oh, that'll do it. Tom Pritchard is out. Both Steiners cover. 2, 3. That's it. Danny Davis makes the count. The Steiner brothers will retain the tag team titles. What a fun match. What a fun night so far here at SummerSlam. Jim Cornette can't believe it. What went wrong? His heavenly body's working the match great. Lots of double teaming. They even got the tennis racket shot in there, and it still wasn't enough to put away the tag team champion Steiner brothers. There's Mom and sister at ringside applauding. Mom not great on the mic. Todd Pettengill trying to give her some material to work with where they breaking lamps and things like that. Hey, no jumping on the couch. Whatever you say. It's kind of like Mary Tyler Moore at WrestleMania 6. Who does Rhythm and Blues remind you of? Elvis? She says Elvis and Valentine, and Mooney's like, I was thinking more Roy Orbison. She had no idea. As I think we're going to go back. It's the debut of Joe Fowler.
How lucky am I? My very first assignment is SummerSlam. This is bigger than life. Thank you, Vince McMahon, for bringing me on board. We've just seen a title match. We're about to see another one. Shawn Michaels has the Intercontinental belt. He's going to take on Mr. Perfect. Shawn is here along with his bodyguard, Diesel. Shawn, you've won it. You've lost it. You've won it. Can you hang on to this thing?
Now all the questions are going to be answered. Who is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time? Is it Mr. Perfect? Or is it Shawn Michaels? Well, all those answers are going to come across tonight, and I will prove to everybody, you and all of the world, that Shawn Michaels is the greatest Intercontinental champ.
Now, wait a minute. They say that Mr. Perfect caused you to lose it, and Diesel won it back for you.
I got news for you. Who's the one that's wearing it? It's Shawn Michaels, so I must have won it. Isn't that right, Diesel?
That's right. The Heartbreak Kid can take care of the work in the ring. Hey, everybody knows the chicks dig this guy. I'm here just to keep him off the champ. Let's get out of here, champ.
Well, that's where the action is. They are headed for the ring as we speak, so we better do the same thing. This is Joe Fowler reporting. Let's go where the action is. Ringside, Vince.
I remember watching this live and going, who the hell is this? Joe Fowler! Who the hell is this guy? But I enjoyed his energy at the time. And I think he was shoved right into some things that maybe he wasn't ready for. So not all his fault. I thought he did a good job. It's some of the things they give him to do here over the course of the next few months. Some of the things he wasn't ready for. We'll see that as we go on in the Grenade, and we'll talk about that. But so far, for this being his debut, Joe did nothing wrong there. You got to remember, you go back and, Sean Mooney was better. Well, Sean Mooney, I was a gigantic fan of Sean Mooney. I think Sean Mooney was great. When he left here in 93, I was sad to see him go. But you got to remember, Sean Mooney and many of these guys just started off doing generic interviews. Mooney starting off with the Events Center. They had a long time to prepare to evolve into some of their other positions on the show. Mooney eventually doing commentary for Primetime or Coliseum Video, some of the other syndicated things like Spotlight. Sean Mooney hosting Spotlight as Ian Mooney, by the way, or hosting the Coliseum videotapes. But it didn't start that way. Sean had to work his way there. And he had a lot of help along the way from guys like Gorilla, and he admits absolutely Lord Alfred Hayes. Shawn Michaels in the ring, my favorite wrestler at this point, probably in all of wrestling here in 1993. So the news that comes up next month about Shawn Michaels very, very much saddened me at this point, but we'll save that for the September edition of the Grenade next week. For right now, this is a Intercontinental title match. This is the way it was sold on TV by guys like Gorilla Monsoon and a few others as the greatest Intercontinental title match of all time. And on paper, this should have blown everything before this away and everything beyond this away, if you ask me. My personal two favorites in the company at that time, and probably two of my personal 5 favorites of all time here in the WWF. Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect getting ready to go at it one-on-one. Of course, both guys at this point. There it is, Radio WWF up there. Look at that. Gorilla Monsoon and Jim Ross up there high, looking on the monitors, watching from up above. Radio WWF banner above them. Very cool idea at the time, I thought, was Radio WWF. I enjoyed it. We didn't get it until the early part of 94 here in my market, but I enjoyed it all the way to the end in August of 94. Mr. Perfect just about to ringside. Both guys, 2-time Intercontinental champions. Of course, Hennig beating Tito Santana in the tournament finals and later regaining it from the Texas Tornado before losing it to Bret. Shawn Michaels on the other side. Well, we know that most recently Shawn's second win was over Marty Jannetty at a house show, supposedly with the help of the new bodyguard Diesel. Mr. Perfect played a big part in taking that belt from Shawn Michaels, aiding Marty Jannetty in the win to begin with. So you may argue that Shawn should have never really lost that title. And of course, Shawn Michaels beating the Bulldog back Saturday night's main event in the fall of 92. So Shawn, 2-time champion. He is the current champion. Hennig, a former 2-time champion as well. It's funny, you go back in time and you start thinking about SummerSlam, and you go back to the very first SummerSlam, 1988. The Ultimate Warrior comes out, beats the Honky Tonk Man in near record time to become Intercontinental Champion. Fast forward a year later to 1989, Warrior had lost the Intercontinental belt to Rick Rude at WrestleMania 5, but loses the title back, or wins the title back, from Rude at SummerSlam 89. We go ahead to SummerSlam 90. It was supposed to be Perfect defending against Beefcake in what was reportedly, the night Beefcake was finally supposed to win the title. Well, that doesn't happen. Thank God for that. Not thank God for the injury. It's a terrible injury Beefcake suffered, to say the least. But we wind up getting Kerry Von Erich into the company, and last minute Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich becomes the Intercontinental Champion in 1990. I went ballistic for that one too. Very excited when I saw that happen live. We move on to 1991. Another great match between Mr. Perfect, who was having the back issues. You'd never know it from the match when he drops the belt to Bret Hart. Bret Hart's first singles title here in the company. And then SummerSlam 92, Bret Hart loses the belt to the British Bulldog, his brother-in-law. And now here we are. So we are in our 6th SummerSlam 5 in a row. The first 5 SummerSlams feature an Intercontinental title change. We have to see if they keep that up here this year. And you'd think by logic alone, this is what they call the workers title, the workhorse title. And yes, you have the Ultimate Warrior in there and the Honky Tonk Man in there, but for all intents and purposes, you look back and you can go way back really to Patterson and beyond, Morales and Morocco and Santana and Savage and Steamboat, Rick Rude, of course, Curt Hennig and Bret Hart. I'd even throw Kerry Von Erich in there if it was another era, another time. So we had a lot of great wrestlers as Intercontinental Champion. Shawn Michaels, of course, the most current of those guys. So you'd expect nothing less from these two. As the match gets going, Curt Hennig's had a questionable year so far as delivering on the pay-per-views. First WrestleMania 9, not so hot against Lex Luger. Of course, Luger's told the story. They get in the ring. Perfect's going to lead the match. And then they get in the ring and Perfect blanks out. He tells Luger, I forgot the entire match. And so the match gets going pretty good for the first 2-3 minutes. But after that, it just falls apart. Nothing really there. Then we flip over to King of the Ring now, Mr. Perfect, Mr. Hughes. That was what it was. But Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart, a lot of people say they like that one better than the SummerSlam 91 version. I think they're two different matches. I'll probably always pick SummerSlam 91 just over being biased. But both matches, phenomenal matches. So Hennig's 1-1 as far as real matches go here this year on a pay-per-view. The match with Hughes, I don't really necessarily count. It was a pretty quick match. It was a disqualification. So this is kind of the rubber match of what's going on with Mr. Perfect this year. And neither of these guys really deliver. As you'll see, Shawn Michaels with the inside-out bump for Mr. Perfect clothesline. Both of these guys, Shawn Michaels has stated in the past that, I believe it was in his book, if I remember correctly, that the reason this match didn't work, they just didn't gel well together because both guys were great at making other people look good, and they didn't know how to control the match on top. Well, first of all, Shawn on offense or defense has typically always looked great, I thought. And Hennig, really the same. So I think there's a little more to that. That may be the way they remembered or the way it felt to them. But there's got to be a little more to that than these guys. You got to remember, all summer, these guys were working each other on the house shows. So they've had ample time to put together a quality match here. And instead, I can't call it a bad match. Probably what Meltzer would give. I don't have Meltzer's star ratings in front of me, but he probably gave this match 3 stars, maybe even 3.5. But when you're coming into this expecting a 5-star match and you get a 3-star match and arm drag off the top by Curt Hennig, it's just a bit disappointing from these two. Neither of these guys should ever have a 3-star match in regards to a showcase match like this anyway. And certainly not against one another. And what makes this match even more odd, you go back, let's look at the layout of this feud, if you will. It goes all the way back to WrestleMania 9. Lex Luger cheats to beat Curt Hennig, uses the ropes to pin Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 9, then knocks him out after the match with the forearm. Hennig goes backstage looking for Luger, but finds Shawn Michaels, who attacks him from behind, lays him out backstage at Caesar's Palace, and then drives a garbage can rim down into the head of Curt Hennig. I had to imagine that had to hurt. But Shawn put the boots to Hennig, and the feud began all the way back at really WrestleMania 9. That was nearly 5 months ago. 5 months. To keep something hot for 5 months, you just got to do some things. Catapult by Hennig sends Michaels over the top rope out to the floor. And they really didn't follow up too well. It started out pretty okay. We had some promos from the guys. We knew it was coming. But then King of the Ring smack dab in the middle seemed like the perfect time, if you will, the perfect time. I guess the pun wasn't intended, but I'll take it. To do something with Hennig and Michaels, maybe in the King of the Ring tournament, since the belt's not on the line, have Hennig go over Michaels, further it there. They don't go that route. And boom, super kick on the floor. Diesel distracts Hennig, and Shawn lays in that super kick. But instead, we did see back in May, Curt Hennig play a part in Marty Jannetty beating Michaels for the title, the Intercontinental belt, albeit for just a couple of weeks. But Hennig's still playing that part, so it kept things hot and fresh for another month or so. But then the last 2.5 months, we really haven't gotten much more than mic work from the two guys, and really not even On big business, I'm talking more in the face-to-face department. They've been working to get one-on-one matches. They've been working in 6-man elimination matches on the house shows all summer. But this is the payoff, and we really haven't had any big build-up, no big angles leading in near the end. Nothing to keep it hot or fresh. Really on a block of ice, as cold as you can get as far as storylines go. And Shawn rocking that belly. We've been pointing that out a lot lately. The gut of Shawn Michaels. Been showing off here for the last 4 to 6 weeks. He's been wearing those trunks up high as he slams Hennig into the corner. But even more odd, and I pointed this out on the last couple of grenades, the commentary during their matches, their squash matches, both the Perfect and Shawn Michaels squash matches on TV, really not even mentioning this match, not mentioning this feud, not mentioning the other opponent. They've spent most of the Mr. Perfect matches building up the other matches at SummerSlam rather than the actual IC belt match, which just makes you think there's something more than meets the eye here. Most recently, the final weekend of TV leading into SummerSlam, I pointed out there was a Mr. Perfect, a Shawn Michaels squash match. In all match, they were talking about Lex and YOKO, Lawler and Bret Hart. There was even an insert promo from Mr. Perfect during that squash match, but they really don't even mention it on the other end. They just go back to talking about the other matches at SummerSlam. So it's like this is an afterthought, even though it hadn't happened yet, which is really uncharacteristic, even if they knew there were issues or something else was going on. And we know a lot of things come into play throughout the fall here with Mr. Perfect and a lot of things go on with Shawn Michaels and the WWF here throughout the fall as well. So both guys having their issues with the company here in the next couple of months. Shawn Michaels working an interesting move. He's got the backbreaker on Hennig, but pushing down on the chin for leverage. I always saw this as more of a big man move because their knees are longer, they're up higher, and the guy looks like he's dangling more. Although when Haku did it, when Ming did it, I believe that too, for other reasons completely. But Shawn Michaels really not applying much pressure here. It doesn't look like much of any kind of a hold, if you will. Referee Earl Hebner, well, no, Hennig looks like he's going to fight his way out of this. And he escapes Mr. Perfect. And this will be the first of several. Well, I don't want to spoil the finish for those who don't know. We'll wait till we get to the finish, but I got a shout out coming to my brother here for the finish of this match. Hennig laying in an uppercut. Shawn Michaels, they're doing their best. Both guys doing their best to sell for the other guy. It's just the offense is seemingly, whoa, here we go. The drop kick by Hennig, saw that coming. I always love that hurdle leapfrog he did into the drop kick spot. You just don't see that much anymore. Billy Gunn used to do that as well, but he didn't do it perfectly. As Mr. Perfect looks like he's going for the comeback here. And then knee lifts and Shawn Michaels, I think. Well, the referee got in the way of that spot there. It looked like it was going to be a knee lift and Shawn was going to take the bump into the top turnbuckle. But Earl Hebner in the way there. And Shawn Michaels a little slow on the bumping. Hennig does the atomic drop. Shawn tried to spin, but not a lot of effort there. So these guys, like I said, my two favorites, but even I was acknowledging this was not the match that I was expecting it to be. Very disappointed by both guys. And Kurt lays in the axe a la Larry Hennig. Pays homage to his father there with the axe, the old big puncher forearm right across the top of the head of Shawn Michaels. Gets a near fall. And you might ask, well, what the hell kind of finisher is that? Well, besides Lex Luger and the steel forearm, believe me, when Larry Hennig hit that, you believed it. And now they're going to struggle. You don't see this much anymore. A struggling for a backslide. You don't really see the backslide anymore very much for that matter. But both guys fighting for. I just love little simple stories like this in a match rather than adding a third flip to a move. It made it feel like a competition. Shawn flips over, but right into the perfect plex. This could do it. 1, 2. Diesel pulls the leg.
1 minute. Diesel pulling perfect out. The official's back was turned. They didn't see it. Missing with a roundhouse right. Perfect.
Oh, hit a man with glasses. Hit a man with glasses.
Perfect turning it to Diesel.
Diesel just saved Shawn Michaels from losing the Intercontinental title. Both guys on the outside now as Hebner making the count. I hope we don't get a double count out. Shawn thrown back in. Hebner down, and Diesel just sends Mr. Perfect into the ring post. Hebner misses it. Continues the count, and that'll do it. Shawn Michaels going to win the match on a count out. And shout out to my brother here. Get ready for it. This is the first of 4 schmozzes. This was a schmoz, to quote Bret Hart, as we don't get a real finish here. The first of 4 on this pay-per-view. Believe it or not, nearly 50% of the show, or 40% of the show, there are 10 matches on the show, 40% of the show end in schmoz. Kurt Hennig having none of it. He doesn't want Shawn Michaels. He wants revenge on Diesel. Hits Diesel first. And now he goes after HBK, but right back to Diesel. And it looks like Hennig may get the double team here. Shawn going to grab him from behind. Diesel laying in those gut blows. Shots to the midsection. Those could break a rib. Ha! Call the hotline. Diesel lays Hennig out with a big shot to the side of the head. Diesel's gimmick here early in the company was he had a knockout punch like no other. Hands of stone, but not Ronnie Garvin. Shawn Michaels and Diesel going to leave ringside. I think Todd Pettengill out there to interview him. Let's listen to that.
Obtain a title. They're taking out of Todd Pettengill. If we can get a word with Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, there is no way you can be happy walking out of the ring. A true champion is laying on his back the way that you won.
All your questions have been answered. Who is the greatest Intercontinental Champion? The man that's holding the belt, Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels victorious. Razor Ramon and Jim Cornette are back on the hotline. Things are really heating up here, no doubt about that. Oh my, Perfect's on his feet. But Perfect is not a happy man. He is not a happy man. Let's take you over to Joe Fowler. Joe, can you hear us?
I hear you, but we ought to lock the doors because Perfect's on his way. Let me tell you something. I found somebody in the same boat that I'm in. This is my first pay-per-view. 1, 2, 3, kid, this is your first pay-per-view. I admit I'm a little nervous. What about you?
Oh, God, Joe, I know this is your first pay-per-view, but for me, I'm getting in there with the IRS. He's one of the top wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation today, and, you know, the butterflies are coming in my stomach, you know. I know I'm real excited to be out there, and this is a chance of a lifetime for me, but God, I'm just so nervous I can't even talk.
Well, Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, he's bigger, he's stronger, but then again, most everybody you take on is bigger and stronger.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. Everyone that I get into the ring with has a size advantage on me. But I'm just going to go out there, 110%. I'm going to throw caution to the wind, and hopefully I'll, be able to pull it off.
Wait, I'm being told that IRS is in the ring. This is it, kid. It's your time. Look, enjoy the moment.
Thanks, Joe. I better get out of here.
All right, 1, 2, 3, kid is heading on in. He's quiet, he's shy, but folks, he is a hero. Back to you, Vince.
All right, indeed. He has become just that.
Detroit used to be known as the Motor City. Now it's known as the Tax Cheat City.
Erwin R. Shyster, ladies and gentlemen, better known as IRS. What a matchup this is going to be. The 1, 2, 3 kid on his way.
This is a first. This is a first. This is the first time a kid's been up past 8 o'clock.
Weighing 218 pounds, the 1, 2, 3 kid.
And the kid up past his bedtime, says Bobby Heenan. IRS waiting for him. Of all of the guys on the roster, IRS has to be the last name on the list that I would have liked to have seen the kid here in the ring with at SummerSlam. And I'm not taking anything away from Mike Rotunda. I've said it emphatically on the old grenade shows, the 1989 NWA stuff. I loved Rotunda during the Varsity Club era. It just felt like that was the gimmick for him. He really got into it. He worked it good. But his matches were hit and miss simply because he likes to grab those rest holds and hold those rest holds for lengthy periods of time and then kind of bore you to death. And the IRS gimmick, though, this was just hard to make it through. Growing up, me and my cousins, my brother used to always joke, what would be the most boring match to watch? And it always came back to IRS versus a babyface Bob Backlund here in this era. The kid with the leapfrog and the spin kick early takes Rotunda down, but the IRS man kicks out. It felt like everything we've seen the kid do up until this point. He's had some decent names to work with. They've bumped really well for him. He's tried some really wild things we haven't seen before in the WWF anyway, or even WCW for that matter at this period in time. So it just felt like you wanted somebody that worked better with the kid's offense. I don't know that Rotunda was that guy. And I think we'll see that before this match is over with. Everything you want out of the kid here to shine on pay-per-view, this is probably not the guy you want to put him in the ring with to aid the kid in shining. IRS sends him way up in the air. I thought we might have got that rotation into the drop kick by the kid there, but that didn't work out too well. As the kid eating the mat right now, courtesy of IRS. And we can go back here for a minute too. I'm going to go back to the end of that Diesel match, or the end of that Shawn Perfect match. Diesel lays Perfect out. Perfect goes chasing him to the back, and we had to laugh back in this. There we go. There it is. Nice move by the kid. Shot up in the air, turns it into the drop kick. I like that they didn't do it the first time, because then you know what's coming. It looks like IRS trying to repeat the move, and the kid ready for it that time is, Irwin right back on top with that nasty back elbow, waiting for the kid as he rotated off the ropes, ran right into that elbow. But I go back to Hennig chasing Shawn and Diesel to the back. And I think that we used to joke back in this period that was how Hennig got his heat back. Oh, what a nice bump to the floor goes the kid. But if you go back to the Royal Rumble, he's eliminated, and he and Lawler begin fighting at ringside, fighting their way up the aisle. Then you go back to WrestleMania, and of course he gets knocked out by Luger, but he runs to the back for revenge, and he finds a feud in Shawn Michaels. And another great bump off the apron by the kid there. And then here we are at SummerSlam. Hennig loses again, albeit by countout. And now he's getting ready to start another feud, this time with Diesel. So what does he do? He chases them to the back again, and it works. It gets him some of his heat back. The crowd making solid noise for Kurt Hennig. Ooh, nice flip into the ring by the kid. Surprise. IRS let his guard down. Almost a 1-2-3 there by the kid. So we made a joke during this period of time, me and my cousins, my brother. We made a joke that how many pay-per-views in a row, we're going to count how many pay-per-views in a row that Kurt Hennig loses and then runs backstage to find a new feud, because he did it at WrestleMania. He does it here at SummerSlam. I know it's only twice, but the fact that nobody ever does that at all, and then 2 out of the last 3 pay-per-views, Mr. Perfect running to the back to go seek revenge. And I believe on the Coliseum video version, they actually show him in the back. And actually the Peacock version, the WWE Network version, it may actually be the Coliseum video version, I do believe. So we may actually still see that little gem here on the show between Hennig going after Shawn Michaels and Diesel in the backstage area. But just so funny that we get that 2 out of the last 3 pay-per-views, Mr. Perfect chasing down guys to become his new feud, so to speak. Unfortunately, we know Hennig won't make it to the next pay-per-view, so we won't see that very much longer. But if you fast forward to WrestleMania 10, it's Lex Luger chasing down Mr. Perfect, so the roles are reversed. So some fun things going on there over the next, I guess, the year from WrestleMania 9 to 10 with Kurt Hennig. And it wouldn't be an IRS match without this lovely chin lock, guys. Got to have a chin lock here. The storyline here is the kid. He came out of nowhere. He beat Razor Ramon. He took his $10,000. He beat Ted DiBiase. And the only real issues he's had with IRS, other than IRS being the partner of DiBiase, was there was a rematch on Raw between DiBiase and the kid. It didn't get very far, something like 4 minutes into the match, before IRS runs down and shoved the kid off the top rope into the middle of the ring, where both Money Incorporated, the kid making the comeback here, kicks to the face. But the kid getting double teamed there by Money Incorporated on Raw. Just shortly before the pay-per-view, the kid going up for the moonsault body block if Rotunda ever gets to his feet. This is the move he used to beat Razor Ramon. Down he goes, 1, 2, and Irwin even kicks out of the move. Well, that just killed that move, flat and dead. La Magistral by the kid. La Magistral cradle. Another near fall by the 1-2-3 kids. It feels like they're picking up the pace. We may already be going into the finish. And we very well may. IRS catches the foot, but Enziguri to the face of IRS. And another quick pinfall attempt by the kid. Love Waltman's fast pinfalls here, as he's trying anything he can to take out Rotunda. Rotunda drops down, up. Oh, there it is, the write-off, the lariat, if you will, the jumping clothesline by Irwin R. Shyster on the kid. Well, that's his finisher. You can't be telling me. 2 and 3. To quote the upcoming WWF slogan, unbelievable. Irwin R. Shyster pins the 1-2-3 kid. This was a fart in church in my house, and I'm sure it had to be the same there in Michigan when this happened. Nobody after the kid pins Razor Ramon and Ted DiBiase, he does the job to Irwin R. Shyster. of all people. Nobody in my house saw this coming, and when it happened, we just kind of looked at each other like, really? Like, really? IRS? Pins? The kid? Clean? To a clothesline? It was a pretty sad day. That's actually going to continue for the kid here over the next couple of months, so I'm not sure what goes on with that. Let's go to Todd Pettengill ringside with Bruce and Owen Hart.
With Bruce and Owen Hart, Stu and Helen Hart were supposed to be in attendance tonight. Bruce, where are they?
My dad just got out of hospital. He had major reconstructive knee surgery after an accident that happened down here a couple of weeks ago involving that idiot Jerry Lawler.
The vitriolic attacks on the Hart family continue by Jerry Lawler. Owen, what exactly happened to your dad?
Well, you know, Todd, we're sick and tired of Jerry Lawler and all of his dirty tactics. My mother and father came down on Monday Night Raw. Jerry Lawler insulted them. While my dad was leaving, he was kind of shaken. He twisted his knee, had surgery on his kneecap. He's at home recovering right now. But believe me, Jerry Lawler, my mother and my father are watching. They're giving Bret 100% support. Bruce and I are here representing Bret, and we're going to make sure that Bret Hart rules number one.
The Hart family represented in the brothers. Thank you very much, guys. Let's go back to the squared circle and Howard Finkel.
As Bret Hart comes out, this was actually supposed to be, and you've heard it on commentary, alluding to it going into the pay-per-view, this is supposed to be Stu and Helen Hart at ringside, not Bruce and Owen, but Stu's knee injury actually legitimate. He was injured as Bret Hart makes his way out here. They say it was from Raw, the Raw episode where Lawler goes up into the balcony and mocks Stu and Helen. They say that Stu got so discombobulated from the verbal assault of Lawler that when he tried to leave and go down the stairs, he injured his knee. Well, Stu did in fact receive an injury at a wrestling event, though it wasn't a WWF wrestling event, but rather WCW Slamboree. Stu was there as an honoree. He was also there to watch his son-in-law, the British Bulldog. And I believe that was when Bulldog challenged Vader for the title. I could be wrong. But Stu was there to see the British Bulldog, though I don't think Vince McMahon was ever going to acknowledge that here on WWF TV. We got Jerry Lawler getting ready to take on Bret Hart here
in the SummerSlam.
That's right, Bret Hart. And so Stu and Helen couldn't make it to the show, so instead we get Bruce Hart and Owen Hart, who worked the dark match earlier. And we're going to have some fun shenanigans here with Bruce Hart before too long. As Bret Hart's set, he's in the ring. Why would Bret Hart come out first, you might ask? Why would Bret Hart come out before Jerry the King Lawler? Well, I think we're fixing to find out here in just a few short moments. Finn getting ready to introduce the King, Jerry Lawler, to take on the WWF King of the Ring, Bret Hart. And this is to crown an undisputed king here in the WWF. And you might call me stupid, but I never actually noticed that before. I hadn't paid attention to that until the weeks leading into this here on the Grenade, that this is actually for the King crown. I just thought these two were fighting, and the winner was going to say they were king. I didn't realize till we got into this here on the Grenade that this was actually for the undisputed king of professional wrestling. Jerry Lawler, though, I don't know what's going on here. Lawler out on crutches. He's got an ice pack taped to his knee. I don't know if the king can go. Todd Pettengill going to have to get down here to ringside and see what's going on with Jerry Lawler. Let's take a listen.
Walking that aisle on crutches with an ice pack. That's royalty. That's the king of the World Wrestling Federation.
And a suspect look on the face of the hitman, Bret Hart.
All right, Todd not out there yet. We got referees running to ringside. I don't know what's going on. They're going to alert perhaps Bret Hart, perhaps the ring announcer, someone of something has clearly happened to the King's leg. I don't know if he's going to be able to wrestle this match. He's out here on crutches. 3 referees in the ring now talking with the Hitman as Jerry Lawler slowly makes his way to ring, still faster than the Undertaker. Here's Todd Pettengill with Jerry the King Lawler.
Vince, I cannot believe this. Jerry Lawler, what is going on?
I'm going to tell you exactly what is going on. This was going to be the biggest night of my entire life. I hate you, Bret Hart. I hate you. I hate your stinking father. I hate your wrinkled-up old mother. I hate your brothers. And I cannot wait until I can get my hands around your neck and snap it. Do you understand that? But as I arrived in this stinking city of Detroit, Michigan,
You're right about that.
you peons too, do you understand that?
What happened?
I'm gonna tell you what happened if you'll shut up. I got off that plane at the airport, and I went to the rent-a-car, and I rented one of these supposedly big, luxurious limousines made here in Detroit, the Motor City. And as I started to drive over here to SummerSlam, I realized things weren't going exactly right. Because on this big shot car made in Detroit, the radio didn't work, the brakes didn't work, the airbag didn't work, and as I was pulling off I-75 out here, a little old blue-haired lady who should have had her license revoked about 50 years ago pulled out in front of me, and she caused about a 10-car pileup.
Must have been Helen Hart.
I want to tell you, it was horrible. Look at my leg right now.
Oh my goodness.
I had to pull myself out of the fiery wreckage. My leg was twisted and mangled. There were nurses there that said, Mr. Lawler, King, we got to get you to the hospital. You can't go to the palace with your leg in that condition. And being the king that I am, I said nothing is going to keep me from getting my hands on Bret Hart tonight. I hobble here on one leg, and Bret Hart, I could beat you with only one leg. But right before I came out here, the doctors in the back gave me strict orders that under no circumstances would I be able to participate in any kind of wrestling event tonight.
What a shame. Oh my goodness.
This is a ripoff. This is a ripoff.
Broken leg or no broken leg?
I don't believe it.
Wait a minute. Let me tell you something, you coward, Bret Hart. Don't think that you're going to get off easy. Don't think that you're going to leave here tonight without getting your brains beat out.
He's going to fight him. He's going to fight him.
Oh, yeah, I guess you'd come down here and beat up a cripple man, huh? You're a big shot. You're real tough. I'm going to tell you something, Bret Hart. You're a hated man here in the World Wrestling Federation. And back there, all the other wrestlers came up to me and said, King, let me go out and take your place. Let me go out there and give that Bret Hart the beating he deserves. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let somebody give you the beating you deserve. My self-appointed court jester, Doink the Clown.
Oh!
Come here, Doink.
What is this? Doink the Clown.
He's got buckets. There can only be one thing in those buckets, and he hasn't been milking any cows.
This is the biggest ripoff I've seen in a long time. I didn't hear about any accident.
I was there.
Vince McMahon admitting this is a giant ripoff. I think he uses that term at least 3 times throughout the duration of this Doink segment. And Doink the Clown meeting up with Jerry Lawler. Oh, I'm so sorry about your knee. Doink the Clown going here. We're going to get a fun spot here as Doink takes a bucket of confetti and he's going to throw it here on the fans. But it's the second bucket that I typically enjoy. It's a bucket of water for Bruce Hart here at ringside, and a fun story about this. I'll let you guys enjoy it first here. Let's take a listen. Bruce does not know it's coming.
That was water. That was water. That wasn't confetti.
Now watch Bruce. Bruce is going to get his lick in here before too long. This was an unplanned or unknown prank. Look at Bruce fighting, throwing punches at the referees, legit. As he's trying to get at Matt Bourne. This is for real. Bruce Hart at ringside as Owen coming in, and Owen the prankster actually set this up. Owen planned with Matt Bourne backstage, and maybe Bret was in on it as well. Here we go. Watch Doink to the floor. Watch Bruce Hart make sure to get his shot in. Just keep an eye on the camera here. We're going to see it really quick. Bruce Hart going to get his shot in there on Doink, and boom, there it is. A nice big right hand to Matt Bourne's side of his head. Bruce now agreeing to go back behind the rail with Owen Hart. But it was Owen who set this up as a prank. Bruce did not know it was coming, and he talked to Matt Bourne, and he said, grab a bucket of water, throw it on my brother Bruce. They thought it would be hilarious. Oh, you know, Owen, we've heard the stories of the jokes, the pranks. Well, Bruce didn't know it was coming, and Bruce, well, a bit of a hothead, as you can see. He was having none of it live here on pay-per-view. He wasn't going to get made an ass out of. He comes at Doink. He's swinging punches at the referees when they're trying to hold him back. And he finally sees the opportunity and lays one big shot in on Matt Bourne before agreeing to go back behind the rail. And now it's Bret Hart and the royally appointed court jester, Doink the Clown, which should make for a better wrestling match. You'd have to imagine Matt Bourne and Bret Hart. My God, if we could have got like the Born Again character from ECW against Bret Hart here in the WWF, what a great set of matches those would have been. Now, I got to be honest with you, going back to 93, I was very upset with the replacement of Lawler to Doink. Everything, the storyline had all been about Lawler and the Hitman. Not at this point, you don't assume you're getting it, though I wasn't shocked based on a lot of the things I saw Lawler do over the years on the World Class or the USWA Dallas on ESPN. This didn't really shock me, the old Memphis injury angle. But I was just very upset at the time. Everything was built up to this big culmination, 2.5 months of angles and storylines. Lawler, of course, mocking Bret's mom and father on Raw. He laid out Owen Hart in an episode of Wrestling Challenge. And of course, we can't forget, go all the way back to King of the Ring. It all started there. Bret grabbing Doink by the wig. Gonna drop him right on his schnoz here. Right in the schnoz. But you go back to King of the Ring, Lawler lays the Hitman out up on the podium after the Bret Hart is anointed the WWF King of the Ring. Lawler took exception because there's only one true king here in professional wrestling, and Lawler says it's him. And now the time came for Lawler, a little payback by the Hitman, and now Lawler out here, unfortunate 10-car pile-up, thanks to that old blue-haired granny. Hitman inviting Lawler into the ring, but that's going to distract him with King Sting around ringside. Doink the Clown, well, Bret's still not going to... We've seen one thing here in 1993. Bret Hart does not like to give his opponent much offense. Even though Bret the babyface, Bret gets in... I never noticed how much offense Bret made sure to get in here in his matches after losing the belt, specifically to Yokozuna at WrestleMania. Hart lays Doink out. Now it's outside. He's going after Lawler. Lawler trying to get away on those crutches. Referee, is that Bill? We got Bill Alfonso, referee, here in between them. A Doink from behind. Nice high knee by Matt Bourne in the aisleway. Maybe now we'll get a little offense from the heel in the match. And if you guys are looking for a timestamp, we're at 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 13, 14, 15 seconds. Doink laughs away, mocking the ref as he drives Bret Hart into the steel steps. Bruce Hart minding his business over there, staying behind the rails, luckily for Doink, because they're working right over in that corner. Maybe Owens calmed him down a little, or maybe Owens worked him up even more. Who knows? But back in this time period, the point I was trying to make was I was very upset that Doink replaced Lawler, and as anybody would be storyline-wise. You're not getting the match, even Vince McMahon calling it a rip-off right there, his own company, the owner of the company calling this a rip-off. So you can't really deny that was the way you were supposed to feel. But when I look back, my God, we're getting Matt Bourne versus Bret Hart. I really can't complain about that, can I? As Doink now on the offense. Bret Hart was looking to take on Jerry the King Lawler
in the SummerSlam.
But instead he winds up with the Prince of Pranks. Is he called that yet? I'm not sure. Or is that the babyface motto of Doink the Clown? But Doink going to go to work here on the leg of the Hitman. Now, this is what the babyface version of Doink missed out on. I mean, it was the wrestling ability. It became a complete cartoon character and got worse really over time, all for the kids. But it was the wrestling that the character lacked once Matt Bourne was gone. And that really hurt things too. I don't know how well Matt Bourne would have played the babyface side of things. Maybe in that Jake the Snake role, kind of still cold and callous, but over as a babyface. It would have been very intriguing to see how Matt Bourne would have played this character in the good guy role. As he works the leg of the Hitman here, gonna go for the STF. But they're a little too close for the ropes for my liking. I think you should have pulled him back a little bit, huh, Matt Bourne? Bill Alfonso checking with Bret Hart. Is he going to give it up to the STF? Matt Bourne locked it in good, but like I said, too close to the ropes. I'm just not seeing this ending well for the Clown. Jerry Lawler's still watching on at ringside, nursing that poor knee of the King. Bret Hart coming out of this one, though. I think you've had the offense long enough. Lousy, stinking hyena Clown. But Doink, goes right to the midsection with that knee. Nice move by Bourne, and he'll stay on top at least for the time being. Now, for those who don't know, we're going to see Jerry Lawler in the ring here before too long. He's going to get involved. But I would have loved to have seen this as an actual match, not just a precursor or a plot line for the Lawler and Bret Hart feud. Because this had this been taken seriously as a real match with a real finish and given, say, twice as long as they go here, at least 15 minutes, let's just say, I think this could have been a hell of a... Here's Doink the Clown locking in his stump puller. He's used this quite often as his finisher, submission hold. The first time I saw this, it was done by Big Bully Busick. And later on here now by Doink the Clown. But I used to question, how does this move hurt? How can this hurt? We're kids, of course. We're pretty flexible, right? But I lock it on a few of my family members and a few of my friends that wrestled in the backyard with me. And then I realized, this really does hurt people. So a legitimate hold is the stump puller. And why wouldn't it be? But I'm looking for the whoopee cushion. Matt Bourne hit that so well, that bombs away butt drop off the top rope. He's got to be setting the Hitman up for that before too long, you'd have to imagine. As Bill Alfonso catches Doink using the ropes there, he has to break the stump puller, but there it is. Slams Bret Hart into position, and it looks like Doink going to the top. It's whoopee cushion time, guys. Here we go. Doink getting a little hoo-hoo-hoo on the top rope, and off he comes. Onto the knees. Look at that sell job. I gotta say, of anybody who has paint on their face, Matt Bourne did the most excellent job of getting his facials over, even with paint on, as he sells coming down hard onto the knees of Bret Hart there. And now it's time, probably and most likely, for the 5 moves of doom by the current king of the ring. Lawler can do nothing at this point but watch on. Here we go. Russian leg sweep. Homage to Virgil. Bret Hart there. Little shout out to Virgil, who couldn't make this pay-per-view. And he's going up for the elbow off the middle rope, and that connects as well. Matt Bourne could be in a little bit of trouble at this point. Bret looking over at Lawler, and he picks up Doink by the legs, but they're in the wrong position. So Bret's spinning Doink around 180 so that his back can be to the King when he locks in the sharpshooter. Common sense, obviously, to turn your back on Jerry Lawler for what's coming. Here's Lawler removing his robe. Wait a minute, there's no knee injury. Breaks the crutch across the back of the head of Bret Hart blatantly in front of the official while he had the sharpshooter applied. And that will be schmoz number 2. And how apropos that it belongs to a Bret Hart match, as we now have 2 schmozes here on SummerSlam. Owen Hart and Bruce Hart trying to get into the ring, being held back by officials, but no officials are trying to stop Jerry Lawler from beating a crutch over the head of Bret Hart. That Tony Garea. Lawler now, it was all a ruse. It was a plot all along by Jerry the King Lawler. He had to come to Doink's rescue. Bret Hart will pick up the win by disqualification. They did save face there for Matt Bourne. You got to imagine they had decent plans for Bourne not to have him do the job there before Lawler attacks with the crutches and leaves the Hitman laying. Lawler clearly not injured. It was all a ploy, a trick, if you will, chicanery. All sorts of adjectives to use here in wrestling. Is Lawler now going to help Doink the Clown to the back? What a screw job finish. Not only do we not get the match we were promised between Bret and Lawler, there's not even a finish to this match. It's a DQ thanks to Lawler. Bret Hart will pick up the win on a DQ, but he's left like, wait a minute, what is that? WWF President Jack Tunney out here. And Tunney going to have words with the King as Doink hobbles to the back on his own. Tunney realizes it was all a ruse. And Pat Patterson out here. We got other officials, Dave Hebner, Rene Goulet making his cameo. Let's pick a little bit of this up. There's Blackjack Lanza, Big Gut Strongbow. Let's see if we can pick any of this conversation up. Well, no, wait. Bret Hart trying to get at Lawler. It's funny right there. If you guys notice, Pat Patterson walks down the aisle, comes back, and says something to Jack Tunney. And if you're watching, you can actually make it out here. Pat Patterson tells Jack Tunney to go to the ring so that he can tell the Fink what to say. So let's pick up a little of this chaos real quick.
Jack Tunney is on his way to ringside. Jack Tunney is having a conversation with the ring announcer, Howard Finkel. We're going to get some instruction here.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I have just been told by World Wrestling Federation President Jack Tunney that if Jerry the King Lawler does not come back into the ring to wrestle Bret Hart, he will be banned from the World Wrestling Federation for life.
Look out, they're not.
Oh, and Bret Hart attacks, going to make sure Lawler goes back to the ring. I'm not sure what the Fink says that he will be banned from the World Wrestling Federation for a month. It sounds like, but I'm assuming he said for life, for good. I don't really know what the Fink says there, but Lawler didn't like it, and Bret Hart going to make sure the King doesn't just head back to the USWA. The Hitman, oh man, there it was. Takes the doink bucket, and that was his revenge for the throne shot. If you remember, Bret Hart says that when he was down on all fours at King of the Ring at the end of the pay-per-view, Lawler drops the throne on an unsuspecting Hart, and it injured his back. He said it took months to be able to take a deep breath. Again, after that shot, it was a legit shot. That was Bret Hart giving back his receipt, his potato, if you will. He clocks the King pretty good. It made a hell of a noise. Believe me, take my word for it. If you don't go back and listen yourself, he cracks that bucket over the head of Lawler as they get back in the ring here. And we're going to get the match after all. So we weren't ripped off. It wasn't a rip-off. It was all a trick by Vince McMahon into making us believe we got ripped off before we actually get the match. And if you're going to fill time on the pay-per-view, another Bret Hart match certainly doesn't hurt. But hey, you get Doink on the pay-per-view as well. I can't complain, and we're still getting everything that we were promised. As the Hitman going to work now on Jerry Lawler. Remember, he said it wasn't going to be pretty. It wasn't going to be fancy. It was going to be a fight. And he's going to mutilate and decapitate Lawler. I don't know if either one of those things happen, but you will notice Bret Hart wrestling this match like a fight, not necessarily a typical Bret Hart wrestling match. We'll see him bite on the King here. He'll take it to him. They're on the outside now. And Bret Hart trying to, he hits Lawler with the crutch, but somehow he doesn't get disqualified. What's with that? Bill Alfonso letting things fly. This is not quite ECW yet, Fonzie. Bret Hart all around ringside, though. I'm not sure if he meant to use the crutch. He was waiting for Alfonso to take it. I don't really know. There's Bruce Hart soaking wet. Hilarious. It didn't even look like there was that much water in the bucket, but Bruce Hart, his entire suit soaked, his head completely soaked wet. Hilarious stuff by Doink the Clown and Owen Hart. Oh, Lawler drives the crutch into the face of Bret. Alfonso, he's just letting things go into play. He knows this is a grudge match, and both guys just getting their way right now. Is the Hitman down on the floor. And while he's down and out, there's Owen up on the railing. While he's down and out, let's look at some of the buy rate numbers if we can, while Lawler works over the Hitman. Here we are, SummerSlam 1993, but let's go back to SummerSlam 92, shall we? Let's go back a year, 280,000 buys. 92 was not a good year for the WWF financially. Survivor Series in 92, down to 190,000, under 200,000 buys, guys. 190,000 buys for Survivor Series 92, almost 100,000 drop-off from the 280,000 from SummerSlam 92. We go on to Royal Rumble 93, though. It drops just a tad bit more, all the way down to 175,000 buys. Unbelievable. Now, WrestleMania always shoots back up, and around WrestleMania time, it does about a 420,000 buy. Does WrestleMania 9. But it was WrestleMania. King of the Ring, we do drop back down, 240,000 buys for the intrigue for the new pay-per-view, King of the Ring, Hulk Hogan's return, and so forth there at King of the Ring. So 240,000 buys at King of the Ring. What does SummerSlam 93 do? It does a little bit more, actually, 250,000 buys. All of this, though, still under 280,000 going back to SummerSlam 92. So business, at least buys here in the WWF, not as good as they were a year prior. With SummerSlam only doing 250,000 buys, it'll get worse. Survivor Series coming up in 93, 180,000 buys. That's even worse than Survivor Series 92. And believe me, if I was picking Survivor Series, I'd much rather watch 93 than 92. So SummerSlam 93 does 250,000 buys, but it continues to get worse for the company over the next couple of years. SummerSlam 94 going to do 235,000, and SummerSlam 95, 205,000 buys for the SummerSlam pay-per-view, as the Hart brothers unintentionally distracting Bill Alfonso, allowing Lawler to bring the crutch into the ring and drive it into the throat of the Hitman. So while you think SummerSlam 93 buys not exactly the greatest of all time, it does continue to get worse before it ever gets better here in the WWF again. And you can't really complain so far other than the schmozzes. It's been a fun night of action. And I go back to the Hennig and Shawn Michaels match real quick. Even though it wasn't what I expected, it was a match. It wasn't a bad match. It was just a there match. It was there. And it was okay. And while Lawler is Lawler, and he's doing Lawler things, lots of stalling, lots of slow, methodical things, playing to the crowd, it works. It's getting heat. It's over. Bret Hart with the back kick, the mule kick between the legs of the King, and a nice low blow there. Alfonso missing illegal moves left and right in this one. Bret Hart mocking Jerry Lawler. He drops the straps. Bret Hart drops the straps. And at least the people in Memphis get it. And I get it. And I hope you guys get it home too. But Bret Hart going to mock the King. That was his old Hulk Hogan comeback. When he dropped the strap, he became impervious to pain. And he made his big comeback here. Now Lawler, he drops his strap. Uh-oh. Could mean, but no. But Lawler, it's not working because he's a heel. But I do love that there. The Hitman drops his straps, and then Lawler turns around and drops his. But Bret having none of it, and Lawler selling for the Hitman. And we're into the 5 moves of doom, it looks like, already here in the match. This is Bret Hart making the comeback. This is easily on the entire show. And say what you will about the call to action campaign and the big slam heard round the world. This easily has the most heat of any match on the show. Lawler having his own finisher used against him. Bret Hart dropping the King and the pile driver. Wow, he's really taking it to Jerry Lawler here. And now Bret going up to the middle rope. Now, if he drops a fist here, I'm going to pop. Now it's just the Bret Hart elbow. But had he dropped the Lawler fist drop, that would have done it for me. That would have been the perfect trifecta. And Lawler, I think Bret says it's time to go home. He's going to call for the sharpshooter here on Jerry the King Lawler. This could do it if he gets it in. We may have our king, our undisputed king of the World Wrestling Federation. Bret going to turn this thing over. Alfonso asking Jerry Lawler, I should say, what do you say? And I think Lawler hanging in there. Lawler fighting for it. No, that's it. He calls for the bell. The match is over. Jerry Lawler submits. Bret Hart is the king of the ring. Bret Hart has defeated Jerry Lawler here in the middle of the ring with the sharpshooter. Bad knee and all, but he's not letting go. Bret Hart going to hold on to the sharpshooter. He wants revenge more than he wants to win, and he's not letting go. And they talk about Hart cranking back on this. He openly admits, and Lawler's talked about it too, Bret Hart cranking back on this hold, adding leverage and adding legit pain to the poor King here. Just a little bit of revenge for some of the things Jerry's done in recent weeks. But the issue isn't necessarily, look at Danny Davis, a former wrestler himself. He can't pull the Hitman off of Lawler. We got 2 grown men, normal-sized men, but 2 grown men trying to pull Bret Hart off of the King and the sharpshooter. Just not believable that they can't get it done. Is Tim White going to join in? Now 3 officials in the ring, begging, pleading, pulling at the Hitman's arms. Danny Davis, I think at one point even grabs Bret by the hair and tries to yank him off. Now 4, Joey Morella in there. Or no, sorry, Jimmy Corderas in there, it looks like. So we've got 5 referees in the ring. And it's just not going to get the job done. Owen and Bruce getting the crowd to rally and cheer for the Hitman as he just won't release the hold. And if I remember correctly, we timed this back. There's Danny Davis grabbing Bret by the hair. We timed this back in the day to see how long this hold was on there. It was something like 4.5 minutes. Which 4 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but to apply a submission hold, now we got Patterson, Gurria, Goulet, Lanza, even Billy Red Lions out there. We've seen Billy Red a lot on the recent TSN shows up in Canada. And finally, last but certainly not least, Chief Jay Strongbow gets that big gut through the ropes, and he's in there as well. We've got about a dozen guys pleading with Bret to release the hold. Lots of former wrestlers in there. None of them seem to be able to physically remove Bret Hart from Jerry Lawler. And now it appears like, but let's pick up some audio here.
Officials pleading with Bret Hart, trying to pull him out of this leg lock, but the sharpshooter replied,
bleeding my butt. They could get him off if they wanted to. There's 20 guys in there. Pull him off.
Big man Bret Hart unquestionably trying to permanently damage Jerry Lawler.
They're letting him do it.
Pat Patterson, the jack of all trades, he comes out and tells Jack Tunney, hey, you got to go to ringside to tell the Fink to announce that Lawler has to wrestle. Otherwise, how the hell is the Fink going to know? And now we see Patterson disappear out of the ring, return to the ring, and all of a sudden Bruce and Owen are coming to the ring. So Patterson literally left the ring to go tell them, hey guys, come in the ring so we can explain why Bret Hart releases the hold here. So really cool stuff by Pat Patterson. Just, he's right there in plain sight, but he's hiding at the same. We don't see this happening at this time period back in '93, but good stuff there by Pat Patterson, just matriculating the storylines, if you will. Bret Hart finally releases. Let's take a listen.
Discussions going on with the official. The referee's on the outside of the ring.
There could be some permanent damage done.
The referee has reversed his initial decision as a result of Bret Hart's refusing the official's instructions to release the sharpshooter.
Who's the king,
Therefore,
McMahon?
as a result of a disqualification, the winner of this bout and undisputed king of the World Wrestling Federation, Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, yeah. Who is the undisputed king of the World Wrestling Federation? Come on, tell me, audio whips.
I can't believe.
Bret Hart trying to go after Bill Alfonso there. Rene Goulet waving it off. So this is now our triple schmoz of the show. In fact, it's a double schmoz for Bret the Hitman Hart. First he beats Doink by DQ. Now he loses to Lawler in reverse decision disqualification. So we're three schmozes into the show. Bret Hart involved in both of them. And look at the Hitman going. Boy, he is irate. He has lost the battle and the war for the time being anyway. This war will go on, or should go on. Lawler being rolled out onto a stretcher as Bret Hart continues. And watch Bruce Hart here fall on top of Lawler on the stretcher. Bruce Hart still wanting at the king. And it looks like he's legit trying to lay in some shots. Thank God for these officials. Owen Hart, look at Owen. Jump off the apron in cowboy boots. Not a great idea. Now Owen limping badly on that left leg after that. Probably not. And look at Lawler. Classic heel. I loved this right here when he did this. On the way back, that simple raise of the number one finger as he's being rolled back on a stretcher tells you that I won the match. I am the king. I am number one. It's all it took. A simple finger in the air. Classic heel. It doesn't get any better than that. Lawler, the undisputed king of professional wrestling. Bret Hart holding the hands of his brothers in the ring. And I think we got a Ludvig Borga vignette coming up here shortly as well. Borga getting ready to take on Marty Jannetty in the next match. But wow, look at this, guys. Bret Hart and the King feud shall continue beyond SummerSlam. Let's go back to Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan.
Ludvig Borga arrived on the scene. Ludvig Borga earlier today had some rather salient comments as it relates to America and Detroit.
I'm going to show you all exactly where Lex Luger is going to try to win the World Wrestling Federation Championship right here in the middle of the American dream. Well, keep on dreaming, Lex Luger, because if this is what you stand up for, if this is what you're proud of, these crumbling buildings, this filth, this pollution, and I bet the Lex Express never stopped here on its way to SummerSlam. So Lex Luger, look at this. This building is crumbling like America is crumbling. because you American high school dropouts are signing this country away welfare check by welfare check. And you people call this the land of opportunities? Well, I'm gonna take my opportunity to show all you so-called American wrestlers and Marty Jannetty tonight at SummerSlam what Ludvig Borga is all about.
All right, hook, line, and sinker, the Ludvig Borga character, it really hooked me back in the day. It probably, and I don't want to say he's one of my favorite heels because I never really thought he was a great wrestler, but I thought he was, in my mind, one of the more unstoppable heels as they continue to tell the story of Ludvig Borga, feuding with Lex Luger, his issues with Tatanka, we know will come up later on in the year of 1993 as well. But just the look alone, it was a hell of a look. It was kind of like a Rocky opponent type look, almost an Ivan Drago type of character. What really helped, I think, Tony Halm here as the Ludvig Borga character was probably not only did he believe, and so as we've heard some stories about him, not only did he believe some of the things he was saying, but the fact that he was, even though he was foreign, even though he was from Finland, he spoke English pretty damn well for we're typically used to the foreign guys not doing a great job on the mic, and then they usually have to have their manager do their work for him. Ludvig Borga has no manager. He really needs no manager. This character shouldn't have a manager, honestly. And he's just a no-nonsense ass kicker, as we've seen in the squash matches thus far. And was that a quick, brief cameo by Roddy Hogan in the crowd down the aisleway? Now, Hulk Hogan's not here anymore, so I'm not really sure of that. Although I think Roddy just recently up in Detroit, I think in the Detroit area now here in 2022. Shout out to Roddy Hogan, the old Hulk Hogan lookalike out in the crowd. For those who don't know, he's out in social media. Say hello to him. Marty Jannetty getting ready. And what a perfect opponent for Ludvig Borga, but you just knew he was going to win before this match ever even took place. So I loved Marty Jannetty. I was a gigantic fan of Marty Jannetty. So when I saw this match was announced, I felt for Marty Jannetty. I'm like, oh no, that means Marty's going to lose at SummerSlam. But I did like that they found a spot for him on the card. And if you go back to magazines and other things leading into the pay-per-view, it was suggested initially that this match was scheduled to be the model Rick Martel making his return, full-time return to the company, taking on Marty Jannetty. What a great match that could have been for TV. Obviously, it would have been Martel going over and getting that big push on the way back into the company. But this makes more sense for the time being, and Martel will show back up full-time, and in just about another month, he'll be back with the company full-time in late September of 1993. But instead, we get Ludvig Borga, who has skyrocketed to main event status, at least as far as it's coming across on TV. Clearly, this anti-American character built completely for Lex Luger. Wow. Oh, what a move. I loved that right there. Might have been the only great thing in the match. Shoots Jannetty 10, 12 feet in the air, and as Jannetty's coming down on his ribs, Borga sneaks in a punch, an uppercut to the gut or the ribs of Jannetty on the way down in midair. Really cool stuff by Ludvig Borga. I thought that was so creative for the time. You don't see that even today anymore. And I used to press some of my younger cousins over my head, the smaller ones, and perform that move and as I'm dropping them on the bed, press slam into a punch to the gut. It just felt so cool doing that move. Man, what great stuff. Very innovative, I thought, by Ludvig Borga. Tony Halm really could lay him in. There's some GIFs out there right now online of a match in Japan between Tony Halm, Ludvig Borga, and the future who would be the Godfather, Papa Shango, Charles Wright, as the Soul Taker over in Japan. And those two guys, they really lay it in hard. But there is a right cross that sends Charles Wright down, sends Papa Shango down. It's unbelievable. You'll see it in a GIF. Borga misses a stinger splash, for lack of a better term, in the corner. I love it here. He is not going to sell for Jannetty, though. Jannetty with a clothesline, and Borga leans forward rather than backwards. Not only does Jannetty not upset Borga or take him off his feet, Borga going to make sure that by leaning forward with the move, and then he takes Jannetty down instead. Marty going to do everything he can here to make the big guy look good. That's really Jannetty's spot on this show. It's really Jannetty's spot on any show at this, as of late. But it was great seeing him come back, that huge Intercontinental title win. I popped so hard back in May. It was upsetting that he lost it out of nowhere so quickly on a house show. You just didn't see it coming back then. And then more recently, Marty with another great match with Shawn. I think it might have been back in July as part of Monday Night Raw as well. And Borga looking down at Marty Jannetty. We'll do another timestamp for you guys who are out there watching along with me. It's an hour and 31 minutes and 38 seconds, 39, 40 seconds. So an hour, 31, 42 seconds. As Borga applies the proverbial rest hold of the big man. This time it's a bear hug. At least he used one that makes sense for a guy his size. What a look Ludvig Borga had. I bought it, like I said, at the time. Now, eventually, Borga would go on to fight Lex Luger, and I would go watch that live, and I think that was the night that turns Marty inside out with the clothesline. I think that was the night I kind of, Borga was exposed to me. Wait a minute, I just now realized this guy can't wrestle. Not a very fun match. Being thrown in the ring with Lex Luger, that'll expose you. Because if you can't cut it, Lex sure is not going to pick up the slack, especially at this point in his career. Borga Jannetty tries for a sunset flip. Borga doesn't even pretend to topple. As Jannetty with a super kick barely staggers the big man. A second one, Borga goes back this time. Marty Jannetty, is he even going to knock Borga off his feet? That's the question. Dives onto him off the middle rope, but Borga catches him and nails a front power slam. I don't know that Marty Jannetty's even going to take Ludvig Borga off his feet in this match, which is just unfortunate. But they're trying to ready Tony Halm here for the main event scene in Lex Luger, the next big anti-American after Yokozuna here tonight, to feud with the Made in the USA, as he'll eventually be known. Some nice gut punches by Borga, and he's going to pick Jannetty up. Out of nowhere, Jannetty fighting. It looks like the old human torture rack from Luger in WCW. Borga had been using the lariat as of late, but now IRS using that as his finisher, the write-off. And Borga, he's going to pick us up the win. By submission, the torture rack. And this was a very fitting move. I popped when he used this here. Debuted this as his finisher here at SummerSlam, and I popped for it, seeing the torture rack coming back into play. And hey, he's feuding with the guy that made that move famous in Lex Luger, so it works out all the way around. Ludvig Borga with his biggest win to date over Marty Jannetty. And then we're going to see the instant replay. Borga catching Jannetty coming off the ropes with the power slam. And then there we go, back to the ring. Ludvig Borga picking up the win. And I think there's a Survivor Series ad coming up featuring Mean Gene, so we'll listen to that.
SummerSlammers. And speaking of pay-per-views and the WWF,
Thanksgiving Eve, prepare yourself for a little stuffing. And perhaps some squash. The Survivor Series, the Thanksgiving Eve tradition America waits for. Only on pay-per-view.
The Thanksgiving Eve tradition. It used to be a Thanksgiving tradition. Now it's just a Sunday show. But I certainly missed that feeling, that Thanksgiving night tradition, the Survivor Series. It was a fun thing while it lasted there in the early part of the pay-per-view's inception. Before we get going, our next match, by the way, going to be the Rest in Peace match. Uh-oh. The Undertaker looking for revenge on the Giant Gonzalez, going all the way back to the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Go back real quick to that Ludvig Borga promo. I put it in my notes and I totally missed it here. I know Borga says here, and it happened to be in this vignette, so he points to that rundown, broken down old factory, and he says, "The Lex Express never stopped here." Great line by Ludvig Borga. Whether Tony Halm created that himself or not, I love that line. He'll use that a couple of times, I think, in some of these vignettes upcoming. Is Vince McMahon going to throw the Fink? Let's listen to what the Fink has to say.
Scheduled for one fall is the Rest in Peace match.
Now this is going to be interesting.
The rules are simple. There will be no disqualification.
Oh, no.
There will be no count-out.
Oh, no.
But there will be a decisive winner.
And just who will that winner be? We are live from the Palace of...
There it is, guys. The rules to the Rest in Peace match. We didn't know the rules. That's the first time, I think, in my lifetime where the rules weren't announced until the match was getting ready. Now, did they not know what the rules were going to be, and that's why it took this long to figure it out? I mean, what's the situation here? Did they figure that the rules weren't good enough to announce in advance? No matter the case, we didn't know anything about the Rest in Peace match up until right now when Howard Finkel introduced it. So as we get going, we know it's no DQ and no countout. There will be a finish. There will be a winner here tonight. And man, we got a lot to cover here as far as this feud goes, and Mr. Hughes as well. And right, that's probably a good idea considering it's a Giant Gonzalez match that we have some filler here to talk about. We can talk about the feud. It goes back to the Royal Rumble. Actually, it goes back even further. You can take it back to the Survivor Series when The Undertaker defeated Kamala, locked him in the casket. Eventually, Kamala was never the same again, according to Whippleman. Kamala would eventually turn babyface, leave Harvey Whippleman. But Whippleman wanted revenge on The Undertaker for doing that to Kamala, and he promised to drop a bomb at Royal Rumble. He did so. The Giant Gonzalez made his debut in the middle of the Royal Rumble match, eliminating and laying out The Undertaker. They would have their first match at the WrestleMania 9 pay-per-view, leading to a disqualification when the Giant Gonzalez took The Undertaker out with a handkerchief of chloroform, if you will, laid him out, but The Undertaker made the comeback, ran off the Giant Gonzalez, and then there really wasn't a whole lot between WrestleMania. Now, you talked about Shawn and Mr. Perfect doing very little between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, even less here by these two, as Undertaker wanted no part, or at least as very little part as possible, of the Giant Gonzalez in between. They started working house shows. Actually, was quote-unquote lucky enough to see one of those matches, but they started working on the house shows, but midway through, The Undertaker just tells Vince, I can't do this anymore. He tells Vince, this guy's killing me. I think The Undertaker in recent years has said the Giant Gonzalez took 3 years of his career away from him, how bad and dead weight he was and how awful the matches were. So they were working disqualification finishes at most house shows. I think near the end, Taker was even pinning the Gonzalez on a few of the house shows, but they immediately saw that this wasn't working and this wasn't going to go past SummerSlam. So they bring in the next man up. He's hired, Mr. Hughes, that is hired specifically to feud with The Undertaker upon his debut. And within just a matter of weeks, Mr. Hughes is out and attacks The Undertaker, who's in the middle of a fight with Giant Gonzalez. This goes back to the day before the King of the Ring. I think June 12th it would have been. We saw the Giant Gonzalez come to ringside and begin to brawl with The Undertaker, but it's all a setup so Mr. Hughes can sneak in from behind, steal the urn, lay out Paul Bearer with the urn and a sidewalk slam. We haven't seen Paul Bearer since that time either. But what's funny is we haven't seen the Giant Gonzalez since that time. Gonzalez disappears in the middle of that beatdown from Mr. Hughes. Why would he do that? I have no idea. But disappears completely off the camera. And all the focus on TV between King of the Ring and now has really been Mr. Hughes and The Undertaker. Not really. Giant Gonzalez has been missing in action since June 12th. He didn't return until last Sunday, about 8 days ago at the SummerSlam Spectacular, when he does a stare down with The Undertaker. So we really haven't seen the Giant Gonzalez in 2.5 months, and I'm not necessarily complaining. It just seems very odd that this match was booked and this isn't Mr. Hughes. Though that may be a good thing, because Mr. Hughes was actually fired on August 21st. We talked about that in our last episode of The Grenade as well. Mr. Hughes is gone from the company, so the urn is actually here ringside. Mr. Hughes not even acknowledged or mentioned, as the Giant Gonzalez and Harvey now have possession of the urn. And the story goes, Mr. Hughes says that Vince McMahon told him on the phone he was sending Adam Bomb over to Mr. Hughes' house. That had to be a hell of a sight. Adam Bomb coming to Mr. Hughes' house to pick up the Undertaker's urn so that they could bring it back to the Undertaker. And that's how it got here to SummerSlam. The Undertaker trying to drop Gonzalez early with a series of clotheslines, and it's just not working. Oh, Gonzalez lays out the Undertaker instead with a headbutt. Now remember, there's got to be a pinfall here. That was the only reassuring thing out of this match, other than we knew the feud should be over afterwards, is that there has to be a winner. Though it was a huge letdown when you're sitting there and all these ideas are going through your mind. What could a rest in peace match be? Is there a casket involved? What do you have to do? And then the Undertaker a few weeks ago saying the rest in peace match was him sticking his hands inside the carcass of the Giant Gonzalez and ripping out all of his living organs. This doesn't really live up to that hype. But no DQ, no count out in 1993 WWF, I guess I'll take it. Gonzalez on the outside now on The Undertaker. And who can forget, guys, Giant Gonzalez's great comeback when The Undertaker was looking for revenge, and Giant Gonzalez had this to say about The Undertaker in a promo several months back.
Undertaker, you potato head, ugly man.
Undertaker, you potato head, ugly man. And now he's making The Undertaker pay for it even more, bashing a chair across the back of the dead man on the outside. You potato head, ugly man. The Giant Gonzalez out here looking to finish off The Undertaker once and for all. And we talked about Paul Bearer being laid out on June 12th by Mr. Hughes. Well, Paul Bearer's been gone all this time as well, and the story goes that Paul Bearer was suspended, believe it or not. Now, I have to imagine Paul Bearer being suspended had to be a drug-related situation. I have to believe it had to be to go by the story of The Godfather in a future shoot interview. I'd have to believe it was weed-related, marijuana-related. A lot of guys were getting in trouble for that during this time period, including Sensational Sherry as well. Paul Bearer was suspended, though, for failing the drug test and written off of TV for the time being. He returns here. I guess they decided at some point, hey, why not? Let's bring him back at SummerSlam. Makes the most sense. But the reason I say it was likely weed-related, Godfather tells the story of the greatest blunt roller of all time being Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer taught the Godfather of all people how to roll a blunt. So you have to imagine Paul Bearer likely failed the drug test on a marijuana deal. I would like to hope that's all it was anyway. Giant Gonzalez working over The Undertaker outside, brings him back in. The Undertaker crawling towards the urn. If he can just get to that, just 1 foot away from the urn. Paul Bearer should be making his way out here soon. For those who don't know, he does make his return, as I pointed out. But there's The Undertaker crawling towards the urn. Harvey Whippleman grabs it at the last second, and Gonzalez puts an end to that. The Undertaker been without the urn and Paul Bearer for a good 6 weeks now. I'm sorry, we'll go back. Well, even further, what would that be? Middle of June? Gosh, that's a good 10 weeks. And Harvey taunting The Undertaker, putting the urn back on the apron to get Undertaker to crawl towards it, and then Harvey yanking it right back away. Both guys having a psychological plan against The Undertaker would be the story here. Taker also having a physical beatdown by the Giant Gonzalez in this match.
How you like that, Undertaker?
To quote the Giant Gonzalez going back to Royal Rumble. Taker just keeps crawling back towards that urn. Harvey having a field day toying with the Taker. Wouldn't it be shocking, no, not at all, that Bill Alfonso is the ref? The camera pans to the aisle, which must mean the gongs have hit. There he is, the returning Paul Bearer. Yes, I let the cat out of the bag a little early here in the match, but here it is. It's our first time seeing Paul Bearer in a good 10 weeks on WWF TV. And bringing with him one of those black wreaths we've seen ringside in the Mr. Hughes matches. So it may have been Paul Bearer sending those dirty black wreaths all along, those dead wreaths, as he brings one to ringside, presumably for the Giant Gonzalez here. And this may be enough to get the Undertaker to rally back. Harvey Whippleman does not like what he sees. Paul Bearer ringside sits the wreath down. And it may even seem to be distracting the Giant Gonzalez just a tad bit. Harvey, he's not backing down. Harvey Whippleman removing his jacket. He's calling Paul Bearer out, running. Harvey Whippleman runs into a clothesline from Paul Bearer. Oh, yes. He takes down Harvey Whippleman. And the Giant Gonzalez in the ring laying out the Undertaker. But Paul Bearer has laid out Harvey Whippleman, which means, yes, he grabs the urn. Paul Bearer has I can't believe I'm saying this shit. Paul Bearer grabs the urn. He has it back. The power of the urn can go back to the Undertaker now, and in good time, too, as Giant Gonzalez has just been dominating. Poor Taker. Oh, what an awful body slam. The Undertaker lands almost feet first in that body slam by Giant Gonzalez. I'm sure Taker is counting down the minutes to the end of this match in his feud with the Giant Gonzalez. Poor El Gigante, who now realizes Bearer has the urn. He's looking down. He's demanding the urn back from Paul Bearer, who is not going to give it up. Bearer raises the urn in the air. And the Undertaker is not responding like he should be. Bearer was looking for a cue there to raise the Undertaker. There it is. A little late. The Undertaker, Bearer held the urn up there so long he had to lower it, and then the Undertaker sits up so Bearer raises it again. Little fun things you don't notice when you're watching this thing back in the day. The urn is raised into the air. The Undertaker sits up, and now it's the big Hulk Hogan-like comeback by the Undertaker. A trifecta of clotheslines rocks the big near 8-foot giant, who by all accounts was a good guy outside of the ring, but the shit's inside. That's 4 clotheslines, if I'm counting correctly now, by the Undertaker. Gonzalez just won't go down. Dig those airbrushed abs. Gonzalez showed those off on the SummerSlam Spectacular. It was a fun spot by Gonzalez. A little bit of personality here near the end of the run. As Taker gets Gonzalez down to a knee, Undertaker on the top rope. Top rope clothesline finally sends the giant down onto his back. Is that enough to do it? 1, 2, 3. Wow, a clothesline. A series of clotheslines gets the win here. In this anticlimactic finish, The Undertaker finally defeats the Giant Gonzalez. 8 minutes and 4 seconds was the match. And the Giant Gonzalez pays.
Undertaker, you potato head ugly man.
Well, you learn one thing in life. It's not to call The Undertaker a potato head ugly man. At the very least, as The Undertaker will win this rest in peace match. Not a lot of no DQ here. We saw Gonzalez use a steel chair a couple of times, but outside of that, nothing. No interference, no shenanigans around ringside, no real weapons used, if you will. No props, as my wife likes to call them. But Paul Bearer is back, and so is the urn in possession of The Undertaker. They barely celebrate before Undertaker tells Bearer, let's get the fuck out of here. The sooner I get to the dressing room, the sooner the reality that this is finally over. And The Undertaker gets to go on. Now, his initial plan beyond SummerSlam was to feud with Mr. Hughes, but we know that won't happen. Mr. Hughes already gone from the company as well. Though we don't know that yet as far as being a fan back in this time period. Mr. Hughes appearing on TV doing squashes as late as the weekend prior to SummerSlam. Now, there's something going on post-match here, though, between the Giant Gonzalez and Harvey Whippleman. Whippleman backing off, hey, now, take it easy, Giant Gonzalez. Whippleman bumps down. It's hilarious to see Harvey, probably the smallest grown man in the WWF, being cornered by the largest guy, Easy, in the WWF, the 7'7" Giant Gonzalez, grabs Harvey by the throat. He's letting him have it here. Harvey's just set up for it. He already knows it's coming. And here it is, chokeslam. Oh! Harvey barely got maybe 5 feet off the ground with that, but it looked painful, the landing anyway. Giant Gonzalez lays Harvey out with a chokeslam, seemingly turning babyface in the process. I guess losing a match just turns you babyface. I question this just a little bit, only because it wasn't Harvey's reasoning. Harvey wasn't the reason for the finish. Harvey didn't cause the Giant to lose, so he's just a sore loser. He's no longer interested in Harvey Whippleman as his manager. The Giant Gonzalez, much like Andre at WrestleMania 6, will leave alone, but to far less fanfare. The Giant Gonzalez on the way out. We'll see him a couple more times in the WWF, but for the most part, Giant Gonzalez gone from the company. We're going to go back to Joe Fowler, and he's standing by with Jim Cornette and Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji 2.
Won tonight.
Let me tell you something, Hatchet Head. You need to sit down, take you a Valium, and just listen to what I got to say. First of all, it was a hometown decision. A referee from Detroit, Michigan, biased, prejudiced. The WWF's going to hear about this. Jack Tunney's going to hear about this. There were 2 Steiners in the ring. I could list infractions as long as Rick and Scott Steiner's police record. But we were ripped off, plain and simple. The heavenly bodies were not fairly defeated, and I'm going to be heard on this another day. But I guarantee you, the same thing is not going to happen to the great Yokozuna.
We have had a night of surprises. Surprise number 1, Jerry Lawler comes out on crutches. Then another surprise, Paul Bearer shows up out of nowhere. Might the next surprise be Lex Luger takes the belt?
I'll tell you the biggest surprise, your employment. Let me tell you something right now. Lex Luger, I want you to listen and listen good to my voice while you take a look at the last sight that you may ever see in your living life, brother. the great Yokozuna, the beast, the monster. You look in those eyes and like I've said before, you see no pity, you see no fear, you see no compassion for his fellow man. All you see is the intention to take you, Lex Luger, and rip you limb from limb. You throw your arms up, Lex Luger, when you get in that ring, and you draw the power of all those millions of Americans that you've touched hands with all across the call to action campaign. You draw that power from all of them, Luger, and you're still going to come up short. The auto workers in Detroit, the farmers in Kansas, and the common people all across America, they're going to give you their strength. And Lex Luger, it's not going to be enough, no matter how hard you fight, to take this big man down. We've waited a long time, and now the time for talking is over. The time for action has come, and brother, the last thing that you will hear tonight at SummerSlam of '93 is this.
Banzai!
If a picture's worth 1,000, that's 10 grand right there, Vince.
No doubt about that.
No doubt about that. Yokozuna now with the new spokesman. Clearly, immediately, it was apparent that Jim Cornette being used as the new mouthpiece for Yokozuna. Mr. Fuji standing in the background, collecting that paycheck. Also, boy-san, Mr. Fuji, no fool. Getting paid to stick around with Yokozuna as kind of his handler, for lack of a better term. Taking care of Yoko and getting to still be paid on screen as the evil, devious manager. Cornette, especially in these early months, puts over Fuji as the mastermind. Cornette's just here to do his bidding. So Jimmy played the part well, and there's Smoking Gunns out there with the cap guns. Bang, 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 those Alec Baldwins into the sky. A little outdated now. You know, I know that was several months ago, but the Smoking Gunns getting ready to team up with Tatanka. And the big play there is the Cowboys and the Indian, or the Native American here in 1993 WWF. It is the Native American Tatanka teaming with the Smoking Gunns, 6-man tag team. Action here against Bam Bam Bigelow and the Headshrinkers. What a cool little trio that makes. We actually saw this 6-man tag on TV several weeks ago. And honestly, that first one was a hell of a match. I really enjoyed the first time out. These two teams went at it. And I think maybe they needed a little filler here on the show. They wanted a way to get some of these guys on the... We know the original plan, supposedly at one point, was supposed to be Tatanka and Sherry taking on Bam Bam and Luna. We know Sherry's gone from the company. Luna has the broken wrist. It's still healing. Should be about back to 100% here soon. So I don't know if they didn't want to pull the plug or pull the trigger on the Tatanka and Bam Bam one-on-one match here. Probably a good call. But instead, we get a 6-man tag team action. The Headshrinkers still make it onto the pay-per-view. They didn't go for the tag team titles after all. But they are here for the 6-man. It's the Headshrinkers. Alpha and Luna in their corner. They're going to team with Bam Bam. What a threesome this makes. Bam Bam Bigelow, Samu, and Fatu. Wouldn't want to run into those guys. Oh my gosh. And then we go another shot over the shoulder of Jim Ross, high atop with Gorilla Monsoon, Radio WWF. And 6-man action getting ready to go. We'll do the timestamp here for you guys real quick. We're at 1 hour and 54 minutes, 20 seconds, 21, 22, 23. As we go back, let's talk a little bit about this match. Now, the Smoking Gunns and Headshrinkers, they don't really have any issues against one another other than one's a babyface tag team, one's a heel tag team. You can always argue they're constantly jockeying for that title shot. However, Bam Bam and Tatanka, their feud goes back to not too long after WrestleMania. Tatanka comes to the rescue of Sensational Sherry during a promo where she interrupts Bam Bam up on a stage. Tatanka drop kicks Bam Bam Bigelow off the stage. Later in the same episode of Superstars, Bam Bam lays out Tatanka backstage and cuts some of the red hair off the top of the Native American. And from that time forward, these guys have been feuding, wrestling one another on the house shows, though it really hasn't escalated a whole lot on TV since then. So they did a really good job early on of building up a lot of these matches. And then with so many months ahead of the pay-per-view, they really just... I don't want to say they gave up, but they really didn't continue the fire behind it. Though in Sherry's final appearance on TV several weeks back, we did get one more angle with Tatanka coming to the aid of Sherry once more when Bam Bam and Luna tried to double team Sensational Sherry. That was Sherry's last appearance on WWF TV. But Tatanka again clearing the ring of Bam Bam during that segment. And finally, we see these two in the ring. I think, other than that 6-man tag on TV, this is the first time we're seeing these two go at it in a match on television. And of course you have to pay for it here. Tatanka and Bam Bam Bigelow. And Bammer shoots Tatanka off the ropes early on. Looks like Tatanka trying to get the nice tackle spot and a drop kick. Well, these guys came to work anyway. Good spots here by both guys. Good bumps by Bam Bam. Tatanka really laying in the moves. And he's trying to stay away from the chops thus far. Boy, could Bammer get over for a backdrop for a guy his size. Luna, Vachon, and Afa, they just gel well. They just work well together on the outside of the ring. Afa, one of the patriarchs of the Samoan dynasty. Oh, double crossbody collision early in the match. Both guys down. Luna, of course, the second generation of Paul the Butcher Vachon. The daughter of the Butcher Vachon, the, of course, niece of Mad Dog Vachon. As the Guns wait for a tag here, we may get an early hot tag to the Smoking Guns as Bigelow and Tatanka collide. Very big, beefy guys smacking against one another. I can't complain. I mean, it's just the opening segment of the match, but really good job by the two feuding. And here we go. Now we're going to see some Head Shrinker and Smoking Gun action. We'll let the action tell the tale for itself here. These guys going back and forth. Guys, don't worry. We still have the big one coming up. It's Yokozuna defending that WWF title against Lex Luger. And I'm sorry I had to laugh because I was thinking back to the Jim Cornette promo. Ooh, nice move by Billy Gunn. Like almost I'm not even sure what you would call that. A layout face buster. But I had to go back and Joe Fowler during that interview with Yoko and Cornette, he said, all the surprises we're seeing here tonight at SummerSlam, Cornette says, the biggest surprise of all is how Joe Fowler is employed. So I got a kick out of that by Jim Cornette, already giving it to Joe Fowler here early in his short-lived career with the WWF. But I got to say, for the most part, I think Joe Fowler doing a perfectly fine job here, replacing Mean Gene Okerlund on the pay-per-view. I guess Vince didn't want to give Okerlund his final big pay-per-view payday. I guess that's how it would have worked. So Mean Gene, he's got some All-Americans and things in the can, some face-to-faces already done. But any live stuff like this, we're not going to... Mean Gene gone from the company already. He'll be heading over to WCW momentarily. Bart Gunn and Tatanka making the mistake, distracting the referee, being lured into the ring by the heels. And that's going to let the heels do some illegal shenanigans here. Oh, Bart Gunn tags in, though, and now it's his turn to go at it. He's in there with Samu. Samu's really... You know, I was never the biggest fan of Samu. I was always the bigger Fatu guy, but Samu's done some impressive things here in the last few months. He's trying to get back into things like he was back in the old SST days. I felt sometimes Samu in the Headshrinker matches may have been a little more reluctant to put in the work rate, the effort. Some of the matches I've seen here in the WWF, but he's really turned it on the last several months. They're feeling it. They're hoping for more matches with the Steiners, no doubt. And the Headshrinkers may be taking over here on offense here on Bart Gunn. I'm not quite sure when that comes into play. This match build is going over 11 minutes, so they get plenty of time. And we weren't quite sure if this match was going to take place because if you watched all of the TV leading in, this was the match they left off of a lot of the SummerSlam reports. It was almost like, yeah, we'll pretend this match is going to happen, but if there's a match going to be cut, this is going to be that match. Now, not only do they wind up having time and ample time for the match, I think the Luger match goes far too long. We could have given this, or any other match in the show, more time. But I was going to say, not only do we get this match, we even got the bonus match of Bret Hart and Doink the Clown. So they worked everything well, worked everything in here really well for the pay-per-view. I thought anyway. And the babyface is trying to get the crowd to rally behind Bart Gunn as Samu biting away at the head. Luna Vachon going absolutely batshit crazy on the floor, even though her team's on the offense. Because, well, it's Luna. You'd like to see a little more Tatanka and Bam Bam in the ring. Maybe we'll get that during the hot tag spot, you would have to think. But right now, it's the Headshrinkers being the workhorses, just working over Bart Gunn. Oh, here comes Bam Bam. Big Bam Bam going to come back in now. What's he going to do here for us? Bam Bam just plows over Bart Gunn, who's a big boy in himself. Lots of camera shots of Luna on the outside. Boy, she was a hell of a character. Just doesn't get the credit she deserves, especially during this run here as the manager or the main squeeze of Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam going to keep Bart in the heel corner. A little bit of triple team action probably coming up here, I'd have to imagine. Referee got to keep an eye on that, brother. Bart Gunn getting shot into the ropes. Samu makes the mistake of lowering a head, but Bart Gunn makes the mistake of ramming that's Fatu, head first into the mat. Come on now, the Headshrinkers with the hard heads. No sells the spot and lays Bart back out. I always loved when the Headshrinkers would no sell the headbutt moves. Oh, and they double thrust shot takes Bart Gunn down. It's once again, these baby faces, they never learn. In all of the decades of wrestling before this, you'd think they would learn by now not to distract the referee because the heels are going to do something dirty behind his back. And that's what we get right here. It's heel tag teaming 101. It's now Samu distracting the referee while Bam Bam and Fatu lay into Bart Gunn. And the poor Bart Gunn taking a beating by three of the toughest guys in all of the business. Now, Bart Gunn no slouch himself, as he proved in the Brawl for All. But this is a bit of a different story here back in 93. So the Headshrinkers originally, like I said, were penciled in a few months back to go to SummerSlam and challenge the Steiners for the title, even though we had already seen that match back at WrestleMania. It seemed like the only team that would make sense here. I mean, they are clearly and easily the number one heel tag team in the company at this point. And Fatu with the leg infection, they decide to go another route. The Heavenly Bodies come in. Perfectly fine. Great match between the Heavenly Bodies and the Steiners earlier here on the show, but they just weren't bought as true contenders, I don't think, by anyone. Just not enough time and maybe not the look either of a WWF Tag Team Champion by 1993. I hate to say it, but a spade is a spade. But now we have the Quebecers in here, Pierre and Jacques. I don't know if they were meant to get over. I don't know if they were meant. Oh, Bam Bam missing the avalanche in the corner, hits the ring post. Great spot by Bammer and Tatanka with the hot tag now. And he comes in, he's going to light up everybody, it looks like. But the Quebecers really turning some heads, I think, as a heel tag team as well. So now we went from just the Headshrinkers to the Headshrinkers, the Quebecers, and really the Heavenly Bodies who have already lost to the Steiners. But at least they have some guys. Oh, impressive body slam by Tatanka on Bigelow. But at least the Steiners have some teams to work with now. Tatanka with a single arm DDT. And it looks like he's going to the top rope. Native American looking to put Bam Bam away. Bam Bam slow to get up, though. Tatanka just perched up there waiting and waiting and waiting. And here we go. Great stagger job by Bigelow. Cross body from the top rope by 1, 2. Oh, wow. It looks like Fatu was supposed to come in and Bam Bam waiting for somebody to break it up. He had to kick out at the last split second there. Fatu a little late in to break up the count. Tatanka could not put the Bammer away with the top rope crossbody. He won't have an issue doing that to him at SummerSlam, Royal Rumble in 94. Uh-oh, here we go. It's war dance time. Bam Bam rams Tatanka into the corner, and here we go. He's dancing around the ring. We're going to call him the Native American instead of an Indian. Oh, I love that spot. Oh, call him the Native American instead of an Indian because that's disrespectful, but we're going to have him do a war dance around the ring for his comeback. It doesn't work there, though, as Bam Bam. Oh, we popped so loud in that living room, my grandparents' living room back in 1993. In the middle of the war dance comeback, Bam Bam Bigelow busts out an enziguri to the back of Tatanka's head and just lays him out dead. It's so fucking awesome. We popped so loud for that. That was a great spot. And it was kind of cool because, Fatu runs in and just kicks the face off of Bart Gunn. Oh, we're breaking down now. Things are breaking down. It's a Pier Sixer. Looks like all 6 men going to be in the ring. Bigelow disposing of Billy Gunn. Bart Gunn tossed to the floor as well. And now it's all 3 of the heels and Tatanka standing alone in the ring. And we're going to come upon another really great spot here in the next few moments as well. The Headshrinkers, double Irish whip, Bam Bam avalanche on Tatanka in the corner. Great work there by all of the heels. Bigelow going to drop Tatanka. I know we got a triple headbutt even coming up, which makes sense. All 3 of the heels utilize the headbutt, laying Tatanka out. And now they're positioning Tatanka in the center of the ring. What do we got here? We got Fatu, Samu, and Bam Bam Bigelow all climbing in separate corners to the top rope. 3 men climbing to the top rope at the same time. Unbelievable. Triple headbutt dive. All 3 miss. Tatanka out of the way. Just in the nick of time, all 3 men miss a diving headbutt from the top rope. Billy Gunn with a plancha out to the floor. Bart Gunn also with a plancha out to Bigelow. And one of the Headshrinkers in the ring. Tatanka with a schoolboy, 2, 3. Not a schoolboy on Samu. Just like that. Tatanka gets the win over Samu. Oh my goodness, 11 minutes, 15 seconds. Tatanka and the Smoking Gunns will sneak away with the win here. I get not wanting to do the definitive win, but man, that hurt it for me. Really hot finish there by the heels, leading into a simple schoolboy by Tatanka. But after that crossbody didn't get it done earlier, I kind of figured something sneaky like that would put this one away. Great action for a filler here on the pay-per-view, the match before the main event, if you will. Tatanka and the Gunns pick up the win. And a fun match, maybe not even as good as the TV version, but still a really fun match here for the pay-per-view. It's Joe Fowler outside with the driver of the Lex Express.
Fantastic. I see you've got your monitor. You're watching SummerSlam. Having fun.
Great time. Been watching all the matches tonight. Everything's just wonderful.
All right, now you spent 2 months. You got to know the country, and you really got to know Lex Luger.
Yes, that's correct. This Lex Luger is one of the fantastic wrestlers of all times. He's such a genuine person. He's such a compassionate person, especially with the children.
Well, you've seen him outside of the ring, and that's important. Did any one particular city touch you? Was there a highlight during the 2 months?
Yes, it was. First thing that comes to mind right offhand is Philadelphia when we visited the Children's Hospital. The look in the children's faces when he would walk into the room, they were, here was their hero coming into their room. Some of these children were gravely ill, with terminal diseases, but it was almost as if that made their entire life worthwhile just to watch Lex Luger come into the room.
That's terrific. Hey, look, I'm entitled to one stupid question per pay-per-view. And my stupid question is, who do you like in the title match?
No question about it, Lex Luger.
All right, why am I not surprised? The Lex Express, it's parked outside the palace. We're going back inside the Sea of Humanity. Todd Pettengill, somewhere in there. Todd
Pettengill out in the crowd. It is absolutely wild here. Whoever said patriotism was dead should have bought a ticket to SummerSlam. What's your name?
Bruce Hart.
Bruce is one of the waves in the sea of red, white, and blue out here. Where you from, Bruce?
I'm from Wyandotte, Michigan.
Get a shot of this outfit. Now, what was the inspiration for this beautiful red, white, and blue toga?
My mom went to Sears and made me a bedspread, sheets, and a pillowcase. What the heck? Make me an outfit.
You look great, my friend. USA! The crowd is going crazy. The action is hot and heavy here at SummerSlam. USA!
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, you can
feel the anticipation. You can cut it with a knife, to quote Gorilla Monsoon. But let's go back to the driver, the chauffeur of the Lex Express, if you will, Hank Carter. Poor Hank Carter. I'm to believe that this guy, they couldn't even get him a seat in the arena after driving Lex Luger all around the United States for the past 2 months. Poor Hank Carter has to sit on a bus and watch the pay-per-view on a monitor. I don't know if I'm buying that. If true, I feel really bad for poor Hank Carter. As he's sitting there and he talks a little bit about the Lex Express and talk about killing time. Randomly, Todd Pettengill getting this Bruce, whatever he said his last name is. I love the story, though. I don't know if Todd knew that was coming, but it was great. Hey, what's the story behind your red, white, and blue gimmick you have on? Oh, my mom went and bought a sheet at Sears. Oh, I miss Sears. It looks like his mom went and bought a sheet at Sears, by the way. As we go back to the ring, it's time, guys, for the main event. It's finally here. WWF title on the line. And there's old Jimmy Suzuki, at least of Memphis fame. Jimmy Suzuki out here to sing the Japanese national anthem. And if that guy holding the Japanese flag looks familiar, well, he is. Former member of the Orient Express, Akio Sato, the original Express with Tanaka back in 1990. And he also is the future Shinja, the manager of Hakushi when Hakushi comes to the WWF in 1995. But here he is just holding the flag in the background of Jimmy Suzuki, who sings, I don't know what the Japanese national anthem is supposed to sound like, but I don't think it's supposed to sound like this. All right, that's enough from Jimmy Suzuki. We're going to have Aaron Neville out here momentarily to sing the national anthem for the United States of America. The Geisha girls out here this week, not rocking the old stereotypical white face paint, just natural. As Yokozuna, oh no, I think we're going to get the Macho Man up next, actually. It's going to be Macho Man Randy Savage and Aaron Neville heading to the ring to represent the good old US of A. Well, hey, if this is the only way we get Macho Man on the show, let's take a listen.
Aaron Neville, please welcome the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Well, I guess he's been just about everything that he could ever be. There you see Aaron Neville with Old Glory flying high. And Randy Savage, who's been just about everything possible in the World Wrestling Federation, now electing to be the master of ceremonies for the main event. Macho Man Randy Savage, along with Aaron Neville.
Macho Man dubbed the Master of Ceremonies, the MC, as he was way back at the 4th of July, the USS Intrepid. Yes, the slam heard around the world. The Macho Man again in another red, white, and blue attire here for the SummerSlam pay-per-view. Aaron Neville in some nice jeans, some jean vest and blue jeans. That's Americana for you. Aaron Neville waving the American flag as he gets ready to sing for us here. The Randy Savage had to find his way on the pay-per-view somehow, avoids doing commentary tonight, which I think Vince and Bobby Heenan do a great job, by the way, so not really missed on commentary is the Macho Man, but he shows up here for the main event anyway, nevertheless, and it's nice to see Savage make his way onto the pay-per-view in some way, shape, or form. Macho will become a little more active in the ring as time goes on here in 93 and into 94. For right now, it's just the Master of Ceremonies, aha! And Aaron Neville, they pulled that one out of the blue. I didn't even know, honestly, I got to be honest with you, I had no idea what the hell an Aaron Neville was here in 93. Yeah, I know. I don't know much. I know I love you. Yeah. I still didn't know what Aaron Neville or the Neville brothers were here in 1993. And he's been a joke since then. Family Guy fans will know him as the Aaron Neville megaphone also. Yeah, right here, dying for the America singing, aha. Macho Man, could he do it? What would you guys think if the Macho Man sang the national anthem? That might be a rough one to make it through as well. Waiting for Sato to just do a turn right here. It won't even be a turn. He's representing Yokozuna, so maybe just throw one of them nice Sato-looking crescent kicks. Lay out Randy Savage. What a feud that would have been on the undercard, huh? I don't do undercard, brother. Never. Aaron Neville getting ready to sing. We'll pick up a little bit of Aaron Neville here. I don't want to do the whole deal, but yeah, well, you know what? Let's listen to what Aaron Neville sounds like here with representing America in this big USA versus Japanese feud.
Was so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yes, Aaron Neville, everyone. And it's time for the matchup now. It's all about the WWF title on the line. Lex Luger finally getting that title shot. He's been waiting for 2 long months. Lex Luger going to head to the ring here briefly to take on Yokozuna for the WWF title. And of course, the story does go back to the 4th of July.
America's birthday, Independence Day. There was no hope left. But wait, there was one more man.
And of course, Lex Luger comes down on the helicopter, and you know the story. The slam heard round the world. Lex Luger, the only man to slam Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid. But of course, before that, the first 6 months of the year, we knew Lex Luger as self-centered and a narcissist, if you will, was Lex Luger, a heel who only loved himself, and then out of nowhere, overnight, he turns babyface and he loves his country. He loves the United States of America. He's sick of people like Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji. And then the call to action campaign begins as Lex Luger, he boards the Lex Express and crisscrosses the nation, as they say, as he visits a variety of cities all across the United States, from the East Coast to the West Coast and back to Michigan, visiting, as Hank Carter pointed out earlier, hospitals amongst other places. And Lex Luger really trying to get over, Vince McMahon trying to get Lex Luger over as the next Hulk Hogan. That's how he envisioned him at this point, though a lot of guys and Vince is here saying this isn't going to work. And based on this finish, I think Vince came to that conclusion right now anyway, but we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get closer to the finish of the match, and we'll save that for them. But Lex Luger, for the last couple months, he spent time rather in the ring, owning his skills and sharpening his skills and getting any rust he might have as a babyface off in order to work this match. Well, he was on a bus driving around the United States, and he wasn't even a fan of that. He complained, and he asked, couldn't I just spend certain days in a hotel, a nice 5-star hotel, instead of sitting on this bus? Even though they were handing him the world, it wasn't enough for Lex Luger to give up his typical regimen outside of professional wrestling. And he just wasn't really happy, and I think that was part of the idea here that led to this finish. Although Vince hadn't given up on him, he still planned to put the belt on Lex Luger moving forward. Don't get me wrong, at least at this point. Luger now going to rock. He's going to debut his new Star Spangled Banner theme music, which he'll keep all the way till WrestleMania 10. In fact, when he came out at WrestleMania 10, I jumped up and said, who's this? Whose music is this? What is this? And then it's Lex Luger. Oh, he's finally got music. It only took them more than a half a year. This generic Star-Spangled music we're going to see with Lex Luger as he comes to the ring. Now, the story here is they agreed to give him the title shot, but under a couple of conditions. First, Lex Luger, he's going to have to wear a pad over that forearm, that steel-plated forearm of his. Luger had no problem with that, but Jim Cornette slides in as the spokesman to make sure Fuji and YOKO are no longer tricked or screwed out of the interpreters hired by the WWF. And Cornette, who apparently speaks Japanese to make sure of this, I guess, works a new gimmick into the another clause into the contract, if you will, the fine print. And that states that if Luger can't beat Yokozuna here tonight, he will never get another title shot again. This is Lex Luger's one and only title opportunity. There's that word again, pal. So Luger's only title shot, he either gets the job done here tonight, or essentially he's never going to be able to challenge Yokozuna for the belt again. And all brand new attire here by Lex Luger. Red, white, and blue stars and stripes. The stars and the bars. And there you see Luger has no problem. He said, there it is, a specific or a special red, white, and blue shoulder pad or elbow pad. Lex Luger with the protective pad, that's even covered in Old Glory. The red, white, and blue stars and stripes. Aaron Neville, Macho Man, leaving ringside, slapping hands with Luger on the way. But let's talk a little bit about this match, this storyline. Lex Luger, they've done everything they can to make this about USA versus Japan. If you don't know that, then you're not really looking that hard. We just had the Japanese national anthem sang for a Polynesian, for a Samoan who's portraying a Japanese character here. But the story is that Vince McMahon gets on there every chance he gets only after the things Cornette, Mr. Fuji say that are anti-American, that are pro-Japanese. Vince McMahon covers it up. Vince McMahon, the owner of the company, the man telling them what to say, is apologizing for what they're saying, making sure that you know at home that the things Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette say do not reflect those of the Japanese populace, but rather only Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji, and Jim Cornette and their greed. So while they're representing Japan, Vince McMahon telling you that they're not representing Japan, which is why we just had the Japanese flag and the Japanese national anthem sing. Makes sense, right? Well, it does in Vince McMahon's book. As long as he apologizes the way as it's happening, I guess it's allowed to happen. Only in the WWF. And Luger getting ready here to take on Yokozuna. This is at the one and only shot, or at least that's what we're told at this point. And that means Luger, after this match, should he not get the job done. He's going to have to move on to another feud. Who could that be with? I wonder, are there any other anti-Americans near the main event scene right now? Well, we'll have to think about that as the match goes on. Yokozuna getting ready to take on Luger, and Yoko noticeably bigger since WrestleMania. And I know that was several months ago, but my gosh, as he put on the weight, he's walking differently. He's been moving around the ring differently. But man, he's laid out a who's who. They have really pushed the Yokozuna character throughout the course of 1993 here. He's taken out Jim Duggan, presumably for good. He's taken out Hulk Hogan, presumably for good. He's even laid out Kamala. Kamala never to return. After that bonsai on Kamala, we know he's taken Crush out. Crush will be gone for a few months. Mr. Fuji trying to sneak up behind Lex Luger in the early part of this one. Luger ready for him, though. Nope. And that, wow, Yokozuna tries to sneak attack, and it didn't work. Tries the Pearl Harbor. You knew that was coming, guys. Now, come on. Remember when that used to be a verb? Pearl Harboring someone? You can't say it no more. Back elbow by Lex Luger rocks the big Yokozuna. And while Yoko is still a step behind where he was a few months ago, he's still looking good here early on. Luger going to try a O'Connor roll on Yoko. Doesn't happen, but boy, I would have liked to have seen the end result of that. Luger trying to roll up Yokozuna with that reverse cradle. Leg drop early on. Ooh, Luger out of the way at the last split second. Yoko misses that leg drop. I don't know. I know things are going to slow down here before too long, but it's fun. The early going anyway. Both guys up and running. And this is it, the main event of the pay-per-view, the main event of SummerSlam, a WWF title match, and Yokozuna eating some kicks to the leg. Yokozuna, oh, Luger even kicks the ropes, a low blow. Oh, bonsai, hello. Yoko goes down, a little bit illegal there by Lex Luger. He hasn't gotten shaken away all of his narcissistic moves. And there's the old jumping Luger elbow drop. Looking to put Yoko away early, not going to happen. But Yokozuna, I'm going to get back to his size here, and I'm sure it's going to come into play before too long. He's running out of gas faster, but one arm slam by the big man. But they've done such a great job building him up. It looks like he's going to go for the elbow. But no go, Luger out of the way. Yokozuna misses another big move, which could have been the end of Lex really early in this match. Talk about a fart in church that would have been. If Yoko had just beaten Lex a couple minutes into the match, the crowd wouldn't know what to make of this. And any hopes of making Luger the next Hulk Hogan would have been right down the toilet. Yoko being given a who's who, a list of who's who to take out here in the company, and now it's Lex Luger's turn, but let's see if that happens. Luger really set up to be the next American hero, the next real American. Oh, running clothesline in the corner. Little shades of Hulk Hogan. Lex going to stay on the offense here early on, but Yoko's, you got to figure by now Yoko already probably getting close to looking for a break in the action. Luger laying it in early and often. Hebner getting in between them, though. This could, there it is, boom, thrust chop. I saw it coming. That damn Earl Hebner getting in between things, and Yokozuna seizing the opportunity. And now Yokozuna going to take control. Let's take a listen. I'm very curious. I don't remember how the crowd reacted during this match, and this is probably not the greatest time to pick it up. Yokozuna now on the offense, but I want to pick up the crowd here, and then maybe we'll pick it up again later when Lex Luger's back on top.
Well, where would he get weight? A truck stop? A meat scale? There's got to be someplace. Some doctor has to be able to weigh him. They know.
All right, so not a whole lot there. Yokozuna distracting Hebner. Fuji coming up from behind. Oh, he tried for the salt in the eyes, but it didn't work. That's 0 for 2 is Mr. Fuji. Fuge the Stooge so far. In this one, Luger remains on the offense. So I tried to pick up the audio there. Not a whole lot from the crowd. There was a lot of dead time in the ring. Neither guy really doing anything at that point. So I just picked a bad time. Luger looking for that slam. Can he reenact what happened at the 4th of July? Oh, it doesn't happen. And instead, Yokozuna laying Luger out with a super kick. Nice big savate kick there by Yokozuna, who staggered off balance afterwards. You wouldn't have seen that a few months ago by the big man. Just, this is it. I mean, the first half year of Yoko's run here in the company was really good. Great offense, crisp, on top, not a whole lot of downtime. Everything looked great. he still continued to make things look great. I mean, the things he did, he knew how to do. The bonsai, the leg drop, the belly to belly, the bump through the ropes to the floor. Yoko had his spots that he perfected, and he continued to make them look great all the way to the end of his career, his run here in the WWF. But he just moved so much faster earlier here in 93, and it's unfortunate that the weight gain plays that type of a factor here. But giving these guys 18 minutes, and yes, you heard me right, 18 minutes of a Yokozuna Lex Luger match, I don't know if either of these guys should be doing an 18-minute match with anybody at this point, much less against one another. Neither of these guys really destined to have 5-star classics, and they do have the longest match on the show. Yokozuna has something there. He's choking Lex Luger out on the outside now. And we do have, I found out we do have a Coliseum video version, or at least a home video version of this pay-per-view, because we're going to conclude with an extra segment that didn't air on the original live version, but it'll air on TV here in a couple weeks' time. Lex Luger going to be confronted by his next feuding partner, his next marriage partner on the road. You guys, I'm sure you already know who that is, but I won't let the cat out of the bag. We'll save it for the end of the pay-per-view. We got to save something. As Yokozuna just nails the old Bastion Booger Karachi Crunch, splashes Lex Luger up against the post on the outside, and theoretically, you'd have to think that'd be the end of the match. That'd crush a few ribs. Oh, Yoko misses a wild chair swing, though, and Luger going to fight right back. So as of right now, these guys are back and forth, but you have to know, and you have to dread knowing that we are going to see a trapezius hold or a nerve hold of doom before this match ends. You just have to know it's coming. But Cornette and Fuji doing a great job on the outside to keep the fans guessing. Fuji's already attempted to interfere twice. Cornette sneaking up behind Luger there as well, implying he's going to get involved. Of course, none of that comes into play yet, but both managers on the outside, and that's got to work against Lex Luger here. He's got to wear a forearm pad, but Yoko allowed to have two managers ringside, one with a tennis racket, one with a flagpole. Luger with a double axe handle off the top rope. You think he learned that from Randy Savage? Yeah. Not as good as mine, though. Nuh-uh. Lex gonna go back up, try to do it again. Luger has an interesting way of climbing to the top rope. Not exactly. Whoa, flying clothesline for him. I'm not sure what that was, but it knocks Yoko off his feet and down onto the canvas for another near fall. Lex Luger almost scores the win over Yokozuna. And again, much like had Luger job earlier, can you imagine if Yoko just did the pin there? Fans would have been behind it. I don't know if Vince would have been happy. Oh, clothesline from the back to the back of the head of Yokozuna. Really good stuff from Lex Luger here. Some different stuff anyway. He's trying early on in this match. And yes, I said early on in this match, we got a long way to go, unfortunately. And I know there's going to be points where I'm going to have to find filler here to talk about beyond this matchup. But we look at what's to come for both guys. Lex Luger, all right, I'll let the cat out of the bag. You guys already know what's coming. Double clothesline, both guys down. We know Lex Luger will move on to feud with Ludvig Borga later on in the fall here of 1993. Yokozuna, because Mr. Hughes is gone from the company and there's no more Giant Gonzalez feuding with The Undertaker needs a new feud partner as well. And it's going to wind up being Yokozuna by just in about a month's time. We're going to find that out. And yeah, The Undertaker and Yokozuna, they're going to go all the way to Royal Rumble. Luger and Borga, the matches are so bad in the house shows. They essentially finish up at Survivor Series, technically, as far as TV goes, if you ask me anyway. We'll have to wait and see if they do anything in December on TV. I don't remember. But yeah, Ludvig Borga, short-lived as far as a feuding opponent for Lex Luger. They don't really make it to a grand pay-per-view. Borga will also do some things with Tatanka. And then we know Borga's short-lived due to injury and other things as well. Borga will be gone in the early part of 94. But in this shorter period of time, Borga does the job as far as getting over as a serious threat to the main event scene. Yokozuna, though, the referee misses that salt bucket to the head of Lex Luger, sends him knocked out, flat out on the ground. If Yoko could get to Lex faster here, he's crawling slowly over to make the cover. He might get the win. Yoko going to hook a leg. You don't see that often. Yoko making a normal cover. He lays back on Luger and hooks the leg. You don't see that. It's kind of funny to see Yokozuna make a normal cover like that. and Luger kicks out after the salt bucket to the head. It's that American fan base behind Lex Luger as they sell it, as Cornette sells it on interviews post pay-per-view. It's the all of the fans that Lex Luger crisscrossed the nation to see and visit, and all of the fans in the building here tonight that enabled Luger to fight a good fight here against Yokozuna and kick out of things like that shot from the salt bucket. Fans look right now to be rallying behind Luger, but we'll pick up audio later in the match. Jim Cornette, Mr. Fuji, still lurking around ringside, still looking to sneak in a few shots of their own. Luger now with the leaner look, by the way, I should point out. You know, the narcissist much thicker than Luger here, who got leaner. According to Bruce Pritchard on his shoot interview leading into the SummerSlam, Vince wanted Luger, there to be no doubt that Luger was not on steroids. So Luger began to cut weight and trim down. And you gotta give him credit here. In the last 2 months, Luger's been on a bus. And I'm sure he's had his normal training regimen. Lex nor Vince would have anything less than that. But Luger really trimmed down his abs, probably the best abs of Luger's career, I'm thinking here in 1993. Just a much leaner Lex Luger, but still in phenomenal shape. Even got a haircut here. A nice Americana haircut from our next big hero. Yoko chokes Luger over the ropes. So far, not necessarily the worst thing I've ever seen. In fact, it's not even as bad as the Undertaker Giant Gonzalez as of yet. But I remember a portion of this match being a snooze fest. And we may be coming upon that very briefly here. Yokozuna, there you see a nice close-up shot of Yokozuna, who's already gassed. He's sucking wind, breathing hard here. He's really not having to do a whole lot because he's just walking around choking Luger over the ropes. And Yoko's still struggling to get his breathing back. Luger playing into the crowd. He's looking for a chant here. Let's pick up the crowd. Let's see what they're doing here. Are they rooting for Lex Luger? Let's see what the fans are doing to get behind Luger. Oh, no, wait. Yokozuna. Nice back suplex by almost a Saito-like suplex. Masa Saito, Mr. Torture. Well, it is Japanese versus Americans, right? Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, pal. Nice Saito suplex there, though, by Yokozuna. You don't see that very often out of the big guy. And he gets a near fall, and he's questioning the referee. How can it be? How can Lex Luger kick out of my suplex? So Yoko, maybe one of the first times he's questioning the official, he's looking shocked on his face. Lots of different mannerisms in this match from Yoko than I'm accustomed to seeing. But he's keeping, and there it is. He knew it was coming eventually. The dreaded nerve hold of doom, working those trapezius muscles. You know, if you take a couple fingers and you drive it down there, it does hurt. And you can really put some pain on someone. Now, for them to lay there and allow you to do it, nah, that's a different story. It seems to engage a completely different reaction, like a fish out of water flopping reaction, rather than making a guy pass out. But it's professional wrestling, and that's the story we're telling here. And it's sad to say we did the Royal Rumble watch-along. We did the WrestleMania. Look at the fans. Fans starting to rally there. We did the WrestleMania watch-along, King of the Ring watch-along. We even did a European Rampage Tour watch-along. 2 house shows on that one that were aired over in Europe. This is our SummerSlam watch-along. Sad to say we only have one more to go. That's the Survivor Series watch-along coming up later in the Grenade. Episode 50-something or other should be the Survivor Series watch-along, and that'll actually be the penultimate episode here in 1993 on the Grenade, as we'll finish things off with the December of 1993 in the WWF show. So SummerSlam, it's a happy feeling to be able to call these shows, but it's a sad feeling to know, it's just bittersweet to know only one more to go. Survivor Series, a fun one too, is Survivor Series 93, if you're into this time period anyway. Luger trying to make the comeback, mounting the comeback, but that nerve hold just seemed far too short for me. I feel like we've got another one coming here. Luger trying a slam again, and it fails. And this time Yokozuna lands on top, and Luger barely escapes the 3 count. Just barely out of there at the last second. Luger for the second time in this match trying that body slam. And simply missing as Yokozuna off the ropes, drops the leg, and it connects across the face of the total package, or the former total package. And yet another near fall. Yoko even hooks the leg here, but Luger kicks out after the leg drop. Yokozuna going to have to try something else. I like that they're splitting up the nerve hold spots because you have to believe there's another rest hold coming the way Yokozuna's breathing here with 18 minutes of a match. But I like that they're splitting it up and it's not just a long, long rest hold period as he's dragging Luger to the corner and looking for the bonsai drop, looking to put an end to this. Pulling Lex Luger over to the corner by his armbands, his Ultimate Warrior-esque armbands, red, white, and blue. Yoko up on the middle rope. Let's pick up the fans here.
Ready for the bonsai drop. Luger's down. No!
I can't hear. There's so much noise here right now.
Bobby Heenan trying to shout over the fans as Yokozuna misses the bonsai drop. And this could be it. This could be Luger's time to make the comeback. This could be it. Not a whole lot of time left in the match, believe it or not. Now that I'm looking at it, so that little brief period with the nerve hold, that may have been it as far as downtime. I may have new respect for this match. Yokozuna, though, he's not going to give up just yet. He's working over Luger in the corner, but Luger fighting back with his own shots. It's back and forth by both guys over in the corner. And I've got to say, I've never really given this match It's Just Desserts. I've never really, I've even, it's been several years ago. I feel it's been about 8 years since I've watched this pay-per-view from bell to bell, from beginning to end, because I did a write-up online 7 or 8 years ago. And I purposely did not read that going into this because I didn't want it to sway me. I didn't want any bias towards my own writing from 7 or 8 years ago and my take on this pay-per-view back then versus now. And I don't really know what I wrote about this match, but I guarantee you my feeling going into this was a snooze fest and it was not going to be very pretty, especially 18 minutes. But Yoko misses the butt avalanche in the corner. And here it is. Yes, he does it on the third try. Body slams Yokozuna, does Lex Luger, and the crowd going absolutely nuts. Fuji on the apron. He gets nailed off the apron. Luger, Now what do we got? Yokozuna up from the body slam. Luger removes the forearm pad. What's he doing? Don't do it, Lex. Oh, he connects with the forearm. Sends Yokozuna through the ropes unprotected. Steel plate to the head. Yoko outside on the floor. But he's out cold and Fuji down on the apron. I won't say that this is a classic by any stretch of the imagination, but I got to tell you what, actually having to call the match and actually pay attention to everything in the match, a lot better than I remember it. As the referee continuing his count on Yokozuna, Luger nails Cornette off the apron. And, well, oh my goodness, is Yokozuna going to be counted? Yokozuna counted out? Lex Luger gets his hand raised in victory, but on a count out, he doesn't win the title. I don't understand what the hell were they going for. Luger getting his hand raised by Earl Hebner, however. But it's by count out. And I'm thinking at this point back in 1993, I know the title doesn't change hands, but I'm thinking they've got to be planning to change hands on a count out. Like, this doesn't make sense. What the hell? We kind of just all looked around at one another in the room and we're just like, the fuck? Randy Savage, the Steiners, Tatanka all rejoin Luger in the ring. And they celebrate. They're celebrating as if he's conquered Yokozuna, as if he's won the WWF title, the big one. But it was a count out. And that marks get ready for it, our fourth schmoz of the night. And, oh my goodness, Lex Luger picks up the win, but the Steiners holding Luger high in the air and waving the American flag. Yokozuna out cold on the floor from the steel plate. Luger did cheat, by the way. I should point that out, to even get this win, but he only had the one shot. This was his only shot at winning the WWF title. He wins the match, but he doesn't win the title. What is he exactly celebrating? I got to know here. And we're going to see confetti and balloons or something of that nature begin to drop any moment in the ring. It's as if Lex Luger has won the big one, won the title at like WrestleMania or something. Instead, he beats Yokozuna on a count out, doesn't get the belt, doesn't have another opportunity to win the title. But that was what Vince McMahon was going for here. As the plan at some point, after initially planning this match, Vince McMahon shifted to planning WrestleMania to be Luger's big winning ground, and we'll pick up an interview between Vince and Luger in the September Grenade Show. Here's the balloons dropping. Unbelievable. Let's pick up a little bit of the audio. Unbelievable.
Lex Luger is celebrating! Lex Luger victorious! Lex Luger unquestionably an American hero if there ever was one!
An American hero if there ever was one by winning a match on a countout. And they sell this even moving forward as just a gigantic ordeal that Luger won this match, albeit not by pinfall. Now look at what we head into the Lex Express I'll Be Your Hero Lex Luger music video. Although here on the network we get some generic song instead of the I'll Be Your Hero. So we won't bother to play that. I do have a little bit of a soundbite of the actual song being played here. I'll play that in just a moment. What I did like about this actual video is they took the time during this, and this was very hard to do back in 93. I can't even figure out how these guys do it today so fast. But back in 1993, you have to figure they got to rewind the tape and do this really fast. They incorporate some of the action from this match that we just watched into the video to close the show just minutes after the match ends. And the song itself, if you guys don't know it by now, here's a little piece of the song. I'll Be Your Hero.
Everywhere, it's all around us. It lives inside the hearts of you and me. Now it's our turn to keep our country strong and see that no man's son will walk alone. Whoa, just take my
And just a really fun night of action here with Yokozuna versus Lex Luger concluding things. But we're not done yet, guys. Like I said, at the end of this video, that's how we end SummerSlam. We go back to the ring. We see Lex Luger celebrating in the crowd. And the crowd kind of, well, they're happy he won. But really, this is the finish you're giving us kind of deal from the crowd. But we're going to actually go on here, on this version, to something that wasn't shown on the live version of the pay-per-view because Lex Luger wasn't backstage yet when we went off the air. For those wondering, why didn't they show this on the actual pay-per-view? Well, Lex Luger was still in the ring when we went off the air on the pay-per-view. But we're going to go backstage here in just a moment. It's going to be Lex Luger still celebrating in the locker room with the Steiners, Tatanka, Randy Savage. He's going to get confronted by his next evil villain, the next anti-American Ludvig Borga. We're going to listen to that. We're going to listen to the audio for that here in just a moment. But here it is, guys. Lex Luger gets the win. They're celebrating it like he's the greatest thing ever to hit not just wrestling, but America as a hero. And he simply won a match on a countout. I never understood that logic, but Vince did have anticipation of getting Luger the belt and still making him Hulk Hogan down the line. But it doesn't pan out here at SummerSlam, which made absolutely no sense. If there was one thing you knew was going to happen, it was that Lex Luger was going to be the next WWF champion here at SummerSlam, and it just was not meant to be. It didn't happen. For better or for worse, Yokozuna still champion all the way to WrestleMania 10, now that I think about it. But in the meantime, like I said, well, we had this coming up here, so let's pick up the audio here. We got Lex Luger coming up in the locker room, a confrontation between Lex and Ludvig Borga. Let's listen.
Oh, it hits the ground, giving up and letting go.
I can't believe it! He is out! He is still out! The champion is out!
Let's take you now to the dressing room of the man who knocked Yokozuna out, Bobby Eaton. Here's Joe Fowler.
Lex Lex Luger, the public loves you, and obviously your friends in the WWF love you too.
It's a great feeling in the locker room. It was a great feeling out there in the ring. Great victory today. And you know, it was an honor and a privilege to wrestle for the World Wrestling Federation title. It was an honor and a privilege representing my country out there. The atmosphere out there was
Luger. I'm here in your locker room to tell you that I am not impressed with you. And I am not impressed with your friends either. And I'm certainly not impressed about the country you stand up for. Now let me tell you something. If you ever step in the ring with Ludvig Borga, I will crush you like America is crumbling, piece by piece. And I see you as the backbone of America. And if you ever step in the ring with me, I will break it.
That's not a sure thing.
Well, Bobby the Brain Heenan, this is Vince McMahon saying so long, ladies and gentlemen. We certainly hope you enjoyed SummerSlam more than Yokozuna did.
All right, and that concludes the pay-per-view, guys. Thanks for, wow, I can't believe I did this all on my own. 3 hours, nearly 3 hours of SummerSlam 93 all on my own. I was so worried that I was going to be searching for words, but I made it. I did it. I don't think there was any downtime on the entire pay-per-view. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Lots of old memories brought back for me with my family, sitting in the living room, my grandparents' house, watching that, getting to enjoy that with my brother and my cousins. Knowing that I was going back to school the next day, I think it was, or something along those lines. Oh, that pissed the shit off out of me. You wait a minute, you're telling, because my birthday's in August, so there was a short period of time there before I started earning my own money where I came to the conclusion, can I have SummerSlam for my birthday? And so sure enough, that's what I started doing, getting SummerSlam for my birthday there for a few years. And this was one of those years, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching along or listening along. I certainly didn't give you any downtime, lots of discussion between the feuds, other things, little notes and in between. And yeah, just really appreciate you guys being here. I apologize I didn't have a co-host with me for the show. At first, I thought I did. That didn't pan out. I was trying for another one. That didn't work out time-wise. And it was either get this show out on time or wait around and see if anybody's ever going to come along and give me the couple hours needed to fulfill this for the listeners out there. And finally, it's come down to the decision that you guys are far too important to me to screw you over, make you guys wait around until we can get a co-host on here to record the show. I did it myself, and actually it worked out really great. I was kind of worried, but I'm really honestly pretty satisfied with the end result, and I hope you guys are too. Don't get me wrong, I will be searching for another co-host for future watch-alongs and for future episodes of The Grenade, but for the time being, I think we're doing a great job, and I just appreciate you guys listening, sticking with this, and enjoying. I hope you guys really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I sure did. I know I did back then with my friends or my family around me, and I did today. It felt like they were right back here with me in this room right now, watching it along with me one more time. And I hope some of them are listening right now and watched along and relived history and relived memories along with me, just like we did over nearly 30 years ago. Amazing. But that was it, guys. SummerSlam. We know the fallout. Lawler, now the undisputed king, but Bret Hart's not done with him yet. The Undertaker finally gets to move on from the Giant Gonzalez. We know eventually he'll end up with Yokozuna. Lex Luger already has his new anti-American opponent, and even though he couldn't get the job done against Yokozuna, Luger's still positioned as that top babyface, as he's clearly going to feud now with Ludvig Borga. Where does Yokozuna go from here? Well, I already said he's going to feud with The Undertaker, but in short term, it poses the question, what next for Yokozuna? The Steiners have now definitively beaten the Heavenly Bodies, so either we get a big angle to lead to rematches, which we don't, at least not here in WWF. Smoky Mountain, a different story. But who will the Steiners wrestle next on the titles? Well, you got to believe those Quebecers, those pesky Quebecers are right around the corner. A lot of things settled here. Dibiase on the way out of the company. Razor gets a big win. I don't know what they're doing with the kid as far as doing a job to the IRS of all people, and the kid will continue to do jobs for the next several months to a few other names as well. But we'll get to that in the future shows here on The Grenade. But yeah, man, it's just a really cool show. Doink even got to factor in, even though we're not going to see Matt Bourne here very much longer in the company. It was nice to get him in while the getting was good. So up and down, not a bad show. Some of the things not as good as you would like them to be. Obviously, Hennig and Shawn Michaels being one of those. Other things really delivered and fun for what they were, Steiners and Bodies. And honestly, going back now that I watched this Luger and Yoko, they told a good story. Was it a classic? By any means, no. Do I want to watch these two go at it again for 18 minutes? Not really. But for what it was, I'm not going to complain here. I had a really fun time today, guys, and I'm just glad you guys were right along with me for the ride. And just thank you for being here as part of the SummerSlam 93 Watch-Along.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
All right, and one final time, I just want to thank you guys for listening to the SummerSlam 93 Watch-Along. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did, reliving the end of August of 1993. Some great memories there for me, as I got to hang out with my brother and my cousins and watch the pay-per-view way back when it took place damn near 30 years ago. Wow, where does the time go? Time sure does fly, and these 3 hours of WWF SummerSlam sure flew by as we come to a conclusion here on episode 49 of The Grenade. But next week, we're at a milestone, guys. It's episode number 50. Wow, 50 episodes of the Wrestling Memory Grenade. Who would have known? And over there on our sister show, Monday Warfare, we're at right around episode 20. So we're trucking along over there as well. But next week, it's all about September of 1993 in the WWF. We're going to take a look at Shawn Michaels quitting the World Wrestling Federation. Scotty Steiner gets suspended after a failed drug test. And Matt Bourne, Doink the Clown, is fired from the company. Boy, does that steroid trial really take its toll on the WWF here in 1993. All of that, plus the new Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Lex Luger. Well, he didn't win the title here tonight at SummerSlam, but I got even worse news for you guys. Lex Luger injured at the beginning of September. He'll miss at least a month of action. I'm sure Vince wasn't happy about that. All of that, so much more. We're going to look at TV and what's to come of the Intercontinental title. What's going to happen with the tag team titles? All of that, so much more next week, guys, plus more Virgil of the Week as we head into the fall of 1993 in the WWF. I am, of course, your host, Ray Russell, and I'll see you guys again next week as part of the Wrestling Memory Grenade. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we hope you guys return for next week's episode. It's September 93 in the WWF, episode 50 of the Wrestling Memory Grenade. But for now, guys, it's time to say goodbye. So from pillar to post and coast to coast, you pull the pin, I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. See you next week. Don't miss it. Be there.
And I bet the Lex Express never stopped here on its way to SummerSlam.